Hello and welcome back to Outside the Box. My name is Juanners.
This is Daniel.
Oh, I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Joss.
And welcome back, y'all. Jeremy's a little out of form since his Timbers lost. We'll get to that, of course. First, I want to start with some history-making games. One with our one Mr. Josh Bathtub. He was there in attendance, and most notably the only outside-the-box member this weekend to taste the sweet nectar of victory, and in an amazing way, honestly. Despite all our teams, Charlotte, Colorado, and Portland, despite all of them getting more shots on target and scored more goals than SKC, they all still lost compared to SKC, who... Tell us, Josh. Tell us about this match, man. Tell us about the history involved for all of those who aren't aware.
Yeah. Listen, sometimes your team is just the team of God's finest wishes. And that's exactly what I was lucky enough to witness on that Sunday evening in Kansas City, Kansas. A team where, despite all odds, going up against a star-studded LA Galaxy team, an LA Galaxy team that, as we all know, is probably one of the best ever, as many say. Sporting Kansas City, they took it on the chin, and they went out there and they performed to the highest caliber that I think we've ever seen. 0 shots. That's not just shots on goal. 0 shots. And 1 goal and 1 win. Another victory to add to Kerry Zavagnan's time as the interim full-time coach. Not 100% sure what exactly he is. But you really can't ask for much more than, and honestly, to spend 2 hours of my life watching a combined 1 shot on target, you really can't ask for much more.
Well, here's where I want to go with that, because it was Star Wars night, and there seemed to be a bit more of a pop at the what's the name of the state? That Children's Mercy Park.
Children's Mercy, yeah.
It felt like a good crowd for Star Wars night, but man, I wonder if that's a lot of SKC's first, a lot of, how many first game that was for fans there. That's a pretty awful one to have your first. Tell us more about the Star Wars, though, man. Like, I personally have never seen Star Wars. I know enough about it through just culture on the outside. I did see that TIFO, Star Wars themed, but I heard you also, were in MLS royalty, as some would say. You were in the presence of MLS royalty.
Yes. No. So Star Wars night, because it was, of course, on May the 4th. May the 4th be with us all. And the 4th was with us as Sporting Kansas City fans that night. Yeah, Star Wars night, we had the fans came out, and they were dressed in all of their Rebel gear, the Empire gear, the new... There was so much to see, Jedi gear, things like that. I, along with my friends who run Off to See the Wizards, we dressed as Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme Amidala. The plan was to have myself, Obi-Wan, fight my co-host, Isaac, as Obi-Wan and Anakin, but we just could not get the space for it. However, we got to bear witness to Andrew Wiebe, who, obviously, LA Galaxy versus Sporting Kansas City, it is an upper echelon game. It is going to get a national broadcast. And so Andrew Wiebe was there with MLS, and he reached out to us and said, hey, I know you guys are doing something for Star Wars night. I'd love to do something on the broadcast. And after I, of course, freaked out, went down to my parents, and their response was, cool. I responded with all of the grace that I could and said, we'll try to fit you in, Wiebe. That's not the case. He was very polite, very helpful. Wiebe was a great guy to do this with. So he pulls up to the tailgate, and he's like, I want to show off the tailgate. obviously want to show off the supporters culture. We're like, that's what we're all about. And he said, okay, so when we do the minute cut before the game, we're gonna have myself pull out a lightsaber and we're gonna have a lightsaber fight. And I was like, Weeby, you are speaking our language. And so if you go, it is ingrained now in Apple TV history. Just pay the $100 a year for the subscription, and you'll be able to watch 3 grown adults fight a 4th grown adult on a national broadcast with lightsabers. I really don't know if there's any better way to spend your time.
This league, man. This fucking league. I want to kind of, it's funny. I know Josh is hyping up the game, but I must reiterate that coming into this match, LA Galaxy and Kansas City were bottom of the Western Conference. So, and it was just about as much of a bottom of the Western Conference game as you would expect. I mean, SKC beating LA Galaxy without a shot is as about a fraudulent win as you could get, right? And like LA Galaxy have been the punching bag. Everyone gets their wins, but even SKC winning this way, it was just so like, I don't know. It speaks more to the Galaxy, I think, than SKC. I kind of want to ask you, Josh, what do you like? Are you like? I know Carey has been getting these results. Part of me thinks maybe Vermees could have gotten them too, with some more of the people coming in back to the lineup. But I want to ask you, what do you make of Zavagnin so far, his time with SKC? And then I'll ask Daniel and Jeremy their wider point about the Galaxy. I think Jeremy wants to say something about the Galaxy, but how are we rating Carey Zavagnin now after 5 games for Kansas City Wizards?
I think that's a great question, Juan, because a month ago SKC was like, luckily LA Galaxy were worse, but SKC was not in a good spot and it had grown stale. And not to harp on the Star Wars night comparisons, but Carey Zavagnin, I feel like, has been sort of a new hope for this team and for fans especially, just because it was something different. And I truly think that is an underrated aspect of changing coaches. We all hear about the new coaches bounce. I think a lot of that is literally just, it's like getting out of the stale tactics and getting into something new. Could Peter Vermees have beaten a bad St. Louis team and a decent San Jose team and a bad Galaxy team? Sure. Could he have done it this year? That's questionable, I think. And you see it in the amount of goals that we've scored, or the amount of games that we haven't looked like we've been out of since Carey Zavagnin took over. The Timbers rocked us 4-2, but we still scored 2 goals and had a penalty saved. The San Jose game, we scored 5 for the first time since, I think, July of last year. Mm-hmm. St. Louis, again, a bad team, but I think with Vermees' style, it would have been like a stale 0-0. And then this Galaxy game, it's kind of the same thing. It just seemed stale. It seemed out of touch. And Zavagnin, who, again, I'll hold my hands up, I wasn't expecting much more or much different from him, just because he's been Vermees' longtime coach. So I wasn't expecting much different, but it's just, there just seems to be a new energy. And I think that, honestly, SKC went into this game didn't think that they had to get out of second gear, which is like, you're 12th in the conference. Like, let's get real. But that's kind of what it looked like to me. The players they didn't feel like they had to do much more than what was required. And I guess that accounts for not having a shot. I don't know. But I felt like they kind of underestimated the Galaxy, and it doesn't feel like a win, but a win is a win. I'm going to chalk it up to just the players getting some confidence back and not feeling like they have to do their best against bottom of the West. But we got lucky to walk away with a win.
Yeah, I mean, no shots and you still win. That's history. So, congrats.
I would.
Let's go to Jeremy, man. What did you make of the Galaxy here?
Well, I want to talk about SKC first, because although SKC won this game with 0 shots, which is something that hasn't been done, well, at least in a regulation full 90 minutes, because this has happened before where teams have won games without shots on target. Seattle did it in 2016 MLS Cup. It happened to Seattle in the 2021 playoffs when David Ochoa put on a masterclass. But for this to happen in 90 minutes and still be able to win through an own goal, which probably would have been a goal, or even if Yoshida doesn't make that intervention. I was really impressed with the way that Kansas City defended in this game, and that goes down to their three central pieces in the box. That's John Pulskamp, who was everywhere. That's down to Johnson the Hut. I'm doing Star Wars stuff. Johnson, who, by the way, that's how Twellman kept pronouncing his name. He kept calling him Johnson Miller, and I was like, are you sure about that? This is pretty clearly Jansen, but whatever. I digress. And then Darth Volodare, who put in the best performance I've seen from him. Like, Josh, you were talking about how you dressed up as Obi-Wan. Your other off to see the Wizards. I guess, like, you guys got to come up with a name for that. Your other Wizards friends, they dressed up as Padme and Anakin, and then Andrew Wiebe dressed up as Darth Wiebe. Robert Volodare dressed up like a good center back, and that's pretty good. So, although every single one of their like breakaway attacks after they took that goal, after they scored that goal, or Yoshida scored that goal for them, it didn't really leave anything to be desired. The way they defended was the most important part of this game, because this was arguably the Galaxy's starting lineup and their best lineup that they could put out. With having Royce, having Fagundes, having Cerrillo, and Paintsel and Peck alongside of Ramirez up top. This was their most dangerous attacking group that they could field. Still haven't seen a lot from Mateus Nascimento. I thought he'd actually put in a bit more of a challenge to Christian Ramirez. I think that's kind of an indictment that he hasn't been able to like at least earn one start during this. But what I did see from the Galaxy was just an eventual surrender, just mentally surrendering after they just kept attacking, but like it didn't really seem like any of those attacks were like actually going to be that dangerous, aside from a couple of spilled shots. And keep in mind that only one shot on target. Like, you gotta be able to challenge a little bit more than that. And then the bigger worry for me is seeing Peck and Paintsel go off injured. But I'm also not worried because I'm thoroughly delighting in every single bit of this. This is fantastic. I love this so much. They have now, what is this, 11 games without a win? They've tied the 2019 Rapids. They're in a race with Montreal to see if someone's going to be able to break that. It's just so good. It's so good. And for their record-tying game without a win to occur without allowing a shot on target and it being a loss, oh my God, this is so good. This is so good. We are witnessing history. We are witnessing something that has never been seen in MLS before. And I'm not just talking about the way the Galaxy lost that game. We're talking about the biggest fall from grace that I've ever seen right after winning a cup. And you have to hand it to them for that.
This fucking league. Let's go to Daniel. Any closing thoughts on either of these two teams?
Just one thought for Joss. Really a question. So you guys haven't had a goal scorer at Sporting Kansas City score over 15 goals since 2021, 2022. Is Joveljic going to be the first player to do that this year, do you think? And also, what were the vibes like with him on the field? This is like his ex-girlfriend game. Like, how passionate was he?
Honestly, Joveljic was pretty invisible, I felt like, the game. And my buddy Isaac, who does obviously the Wizards with me, was like, dude, Joveljic hasn't done anything. I said, I know, because these are his boys, It's like going to and seeing your ex out with somebody else, and you get in your head about it. I think it's pretty well documented that Joveljic didn't exactly want to leave the Galaxy. And I think it's also pretty understandable why he wouldn't want to leave Los Angeles for Kansas City. I'm saying this as a Kansas City resident, but Joveljic, I think he's on 6 right now, 6 goals right now. I know he's on a bit of a dry spell. He hasn't scored since we beat St. Louis. No, he scored.
He scored a penalty.
He's got 5 right now.
He scored against. Okay, he's got 5 right now. So 15's a lot to ask for, I think. especially being a third of the way. But if we do the math, we're a third of the way through the season. He's got 5 goals, so he repeats it 2 more times. He's on 15. Just keep feeding him, I guess, and hopefully he has a productive summer, because I mean, like I said, we splashed $4 million on this guy. I'd like to see him hit 15. I don't think that's a hard ask for Dayon to do.
Let's shift gears to the game before this Sunday. Compared to last week, we had a banger Sunday, like game after game after game after game delivered. The SKC Galaxy game, for as much hype as there was, like this game had aura for all the wrong reasons, I guess, right? Because it's just kind of this mystique about the Galaxy sucking badly and SKC only not even shooting once. So, that this is not a game you go rewatch, and neither is this one. NYC versus FC Cincinnati. Fellas, I am ready to put Cincinnati on the unwatchable tier. I was nearing this last week after Cincinnati and SKC played, because, I'm glad you brought up Volodaire's performance, because I thought last week against Cincinnati he wasn't too bad, and bicycle kick is what you bring in Denke to do, and he's gonna pull that off. But very keen watcher, Mr. Jeremy here has noted the chemistry issues between Evander and Denke. I want to also say that Luca Orellano has been just as disappointing in this new setup. And despite Cincy, having a lot of, I don't know if they're lucky wins. I mean, it goes to the testament of their depth, but it's becoming clear for me now, Obina Nwobodo is this team's best player, and the more they're without him, the less I believe in this team in general. But I'll kind of open it up here to the rest of the cast if anyone wants to talk. I mean, we'll go to Jeremy here about Cincy, because I know you've been the keen watcher. But beyond that, what did you make of this one for Cincinnati?
Oh, this game sucked. This game sucked so much. My question isn't so much about like Nwobodo's absence. It's also about Nwobodo and Buka being gone. Because this team's midfield, because Kubo, first of all, the guy who will play anywhere, he played in the midfield for this one, but he's still working his way back from injury. He only played a half. Brian Anunga is a limited MLS player. Good guy if you need someone to just soak up minutes, but not someone who's going to be able to like win you games. More often, he's probably going to be closer to like the giving a game away type of player than winning you a game. So that's something to be really worried about. But Orellano, I'm very glad you brought up Orellano, because I obviously, like, Evander and Denke are the main headline stealers here. Orellano was signed last year. He played pretty much as left wingback until the end of the season, when he moved towards, like, one of those dual 10 roles, I guess, alongside Acosta, or just as a striker. I never really saw him being that kind of player. I thought he's just more of a wide threat, someone who they need to, like, utilize out wide, and he hasn't been utilized out wide in a very long time. And I think the whole, like, get your best 11 players on the pitch, which is, I think, what Noonan has been trying to do this year. He's been trying to figure out how to get those best 11 players on the pitch. There's got to be a little bit more structure in the attack, because the defense already very structured. The defense, by the way, which probably could have conceded 3 or 4 in this game, if we're being perfectly honest. Not just a missed penalty, but other big missed chances for Alonso Martinez in this. The chemistry between Evander and Denke is obviously the headliner here, but this team, they just look so uninspired going forward. It's just constant hero ball, be it Denke with a bicycle kick, which, like, you kind of want your strikers to play hero ball, right? Like, you want them to just score every single chance that gets in front of them. But
Evander not when Evander doesn't let you.
No, Evander hasn't been letting you. He took 3 shots in this game. I don't think any of them even. Let me look at the shot chart really quickly because it's disgusting. One of them is a free kick from. No, this is a regular play shot in the 60th minute. He doesn't even have a shot until the 60th minute. This is disgusting. It gets blocked like 2 feet in front of him. The next one is a free kick which goes off the wall, and then another one is just another free kick shot that is a field goal that goes into the right field bleachers at Citi Field. Actually, more like the bullpen. So only one of those shots was from open play against a team, mind you, that had Keaton Park subbed off in the half-hour mark because he was hurt. So, yeah, the underlying numbers. I've talked about Cincinnati. They've said that Cincinnati looks like a mid-table team in the East. And that was a mid-table performance. I don't know where everyone's saying that Evander and Danke are going to get this chemistry. Why it was a foregone conclusion that they were going to have this chemistry together. Because, yeah, it's been like 3 months. I've seen nothing to give me like any sense of that chemistry is going to form eventually.
Heading over to Joss and Daniel. Any thoughts here on New York City? I mean, I think overall, like the Cincy one, it's kind of stuff that we've been like on the podcast, and Jeremey specifically has been pointing to, and then to actually see it over the course of the last 3 games, I think that's kind of telling for Cincinnati. But NYC, man, like this team, I think they have every reason to be a high caliber goal scoring team. They played out of a weird 3-2-4-1 formation. They were getting like weird with it for sure. Joss and Daniel, open it to you guys. Does anyone have any strong thoughts on New York City, or do we want to move on here?
Do we think this is pro New York City, or do we think this is just the voodoo of Yankee Stadium?
Well, this is at Citi Field.
Oh, it wasn't at Citi Field. Oh my gosh.
New York City actually does better at Citi Field too. Yeah. It's a little bit bigger, but still very small, pitch-wise.
Either way, so then the voodoo, the baseball field voodoo.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say either way, it's a baseball, right? But I mean, a voodoo on who? On Cincinnati, you think?
Well, I do know they struggle against New York City FC as a whole. They have historically, and they struggle to play up at any baseball field apparently because they stink at Yankee Stadium. Now apparently they stink at Citi Field as well. But so yeah, it kind of. I mean, it's not a great loss for Cincinnati, but at the same time, like it's not like one of those losses to me where you're like, oh my gosh, like a halt everything. Like I feel about a couple other teams that are kind of near the top of the table and have a string of losses right now, and you're like, oh wait, maybe we were too high on them. I don't have that feeling about Cincinnati yet. I just think they struggle to play New York City. But it just feels like every time I watch New York City play in New York, they tend to just be a really good home side. Did anyone disagree with that? Is that validation
it's hard
for
to
me
disagree.
to not hold this against Cincinnati too much?
I mean,
that's the way they've been, New York City, since coming into the league. They're just far better at home than on the road.
Even still, like there was moments in this game where New York should have absolutely done better. And I don't know if that's an off night for Alonso Martinez, who I thought was everywhere. Like this dude was like he just couldn't find the goal. You know what I mean? Like he was searching and searching and searching. He just couldn't get it. I bet you he scores the next game because that's just him as his as like a goal scoring guy. He's just if he doesn't get one here, he'll get one in the next one. But I wanted to see more from New York City, and I think they are still just missing that next guy. And until we get the big franchise player that they can play around, it's not Maxi Morales. I don't think it's Hannes Wolf. Hannes Wolf is a good attacking complement, but he's not the guy you play through. Like they're still that we say it every week. They're just that one DPOA. They haven't really gotten a Rodriguez replacement, so a good win nonetheless. I think. Anything here else that we want to mention, or do we want to move on to the next matchup here? Perfect. Let's move on to the next matchup. And I think we'll just go with Columbus and Charlotte because two of the better teams in the East. Charlotte slowly but surely trying to prove it with their defense, and then Columbus. If you watched one Columbus match, you've seen all of them. But Daniel, you had a question for us before the pod started. You want to go ahead and ask it again live on air?
Guys, should I be worried about Charlotte FC?
I'm gonna let the cast take it there because I have my own Charlotte takes, but what say you guys?
This is for the same reasons that I pointed out in last week's show about this upcoming run of road games. Yeah, you should be worried. On the surface, a loss to Columbus isn't that bad, but it looked like Kalina took like kind of a head injury and then kind of played like he had a head injury for the remainder of this game.
Yeah, you got
so
rocked.
that is very worrisome. But other than that, I also said last week, like, I feel like you need some creativity if Pep Biel's going to be out. You don't start Eric Williamson. You put in a midfield three of Diani, who's Diani, Bronico, just a water carrier, and Westwood, who is also kind of a water carrier. And there's still no creativity there. It's no surprise to me that both of Charlotte's goals came from a penalty, which good for Wilfred Zaha. I guess he needed that in some way. And then just an opportunistic rebound from Liel Abada. So, yeah, there's still no creativity in this team without Pep Biel, and that's very worrisome. And if Kalina is seriously hurt, potentially concussed, that is even more worrisome than the absence of Biel.
Okay. I mean, well, we said it last week, right? Like, if Pep Biel was not healthy, that would determine this run of games that they had from now till the end of June. I think the biggest problem right now, and it's probably going to pain Juanners for me to say this, but it's the lack of productivity from the striker position, and it's starting to become incredibly worrisome.
From Adjiman.
Does anyone disagree with that? Yeah, with Adjiman, I mean, and Tokomati to some extent. I mean, it's not like he's coming on and lighting up either. Although I do think he does provide a little bit more.
Well, I think for as strong as Charlotte have boasted their defense, to concede 4 to Columbus here is rough. I am looking at Tim Ream as a potential sore spot on this team. It feels like to me he's checked out. And the team brought in Suleiman Doumbia. He's been out since, but I think he just offers so much more going forward. And I mean, overall, I am less so like Adjumang is not a DP. He's not a TAM striker, right? And neither is Taklamati. So I mean, you're kind of getting what you're getting from them. And when it's in form, when he's in form and when it's working, it's like peak, right? Because it's like, wow, we have a top tier striker that we're that compared to the rest of the league, we're not paying much. But you do have to go through some of these spells where Adjumang is still kind of figuring it out and working himself in. I don't know. Quite frankly, I just think it's Tim Ream. Like for me, defensively, like there's something off about his game this year.
Yeah, I think my expectations for Patrick Adjumang were Duncan Maguire levels from 2 years ago, and that just never really transpired. Considering the hype he was getting, hey, he might move to a championship side over in this summer. That sounded very Duncan Maguire-esque to some extent. Here, Suleiman Doumbia is out until late May. Pep Biel's out till early June, and Nathan Byrne is out until mid-May. So this team's going to be banged up for another week or two at the least.
Man,
it's tough.
How quickly your hopes just shatter when players are unavailable.
Yeah.
And it
just sucks.
Yeah. As someone that was there for the 23 Rapid season, seeing it firsthand, yep. But I mean, this team is still good. Like they're still. I still think this is more about Columbus being Columbus, and overall, I mean, no Gazdag, no problem. Like, and it's like no Cucho, no problem. And I go back to Wilfred Nancy's quote of like, "This is the best group of players I've ever had." probably not through sheer talent, but just through like commitment and, like buy-in. And it's just a complete team, and there's nothing wrong with losing to a complete team. I'll kind of open it up to everyone else here about Columbus. Anything there for them or Charlotte? Do you have any thoughts here, Joss?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm a purveyor of beautiful goals. And I feel like if the more beautiful the goals scored, for me, in a win, the more dominant the win was. And as much as, a 4-2 scoreline doesn't seem very dominant from the Crew on the surface, the fourth goal was just a complete and utter takedown of Charlotte's entire defensive structure. 17 passes, took a little over a minute, and ended with a Russell Rowe finish. And for me, that's vintage Crew. We've been saying, like, for Charlotte, it's not bad to lose to the Columbus Crew. They're one of the best teams ever assembled in this league. But the reason that Daniel might have some worry is that the Crew were, again, Charlotte there was some domination there.
Mm-hmm.
And it should 4-1 at least, but Schulte had a mistake to let him back into the game. So when it comes to beautiful goals and dominant wins, that's Columbus Crew. And I feel like when a beautiful goal is scored against a usually pretty good team, there is some level of like, okay, how good is this team that scored this beautiful goal in this dominant win?
Yeah. One thing to note is Jason Russell Rowe. If you watch him for that entire goal sequence at the end, he just walks through the right channel, and guess who's supposed to be guarding that? It's Tim Ream, and just completely caught out by the time Russell Rowe has a chance on goal. So just things to notice as we move on. Let's talk about this last matchup, and then we'll start from the bottom up, talk about your MLS team. But we had to talk about Austin FC versus Minnesota United. Austin, very funny of them. They apparently don't know that the way to beat Minnesota is to give them the ball. And, Minnesota just played their game, right? And it's hard not to when you have Austin, who are just dreadful in combination, in possession, in build-up. Like, overall, like this is at home, and you're falling for the Minnesota trap. And I was on TikTok. There's an account. I forget it. I forget the name. I'm sorry, but they were like doing post-match interviews with some of the Austin fans, and those guys are pissed. They are so angry. Nico Ball is here, but beyond that, I'm starting to doubt Roto himself, who came in with this like European pedigree. And more, I think MLS fans as a whole, we got to stop falling for the European mindset, the European guy that comes in. And the only Europeans I will accept are from Denmark, as is the case for Jasper Sorensen. We'll talk about that for sure. But I'm sick and tired of these managers coming in expecting to implement their style, implement their network into this salary-capped league. This league here that, we value the hard-nosed wins, the culture, slow culture building here. For Austin FC, I am not seeing a culture that is really like anything that was promised when Roto came in. And it's starting to appear out into the fans who are like pissed. It's awesome because, an expansion team coming in and getting slapped again for another year. Oh, I love it. But I'll open it up to you guys. What are y'all making of Austin? And, if you want to say anything about Minnesota, tell me about Minnesota as well.
I don't have enough time to give my entire verbal essay about Austin FC and why they're in this spot. But I will say that this game was over the second Brad Stuver left his legs open and let that ball in. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe that a guy who has been Austin's most important player in their history, I'm putting him above Driussi, because
Easy.
If you're going to play the style that Austin have played, and even though this is their second manager, they have not changed the style. If you're going to keep playing this ball-averse style to where you cannot create in possession, you need to have an absolute rock of a goalie. Stuver's been showing the cracks. That's not good. That's the most worrisome thing about this Austin team. Everything else is like kind of expected. But also, I've seen like my favorite thing that I've seen from Austin fans this year isn't even about Bukhari, who yes has been very disappointing, but obviously needs a little bit more like to support. It's been about Uzuni. Like there's just so many like what does he even do? So many comments from Austin fans about him just throwing his hands up after he misses a shot or something like that. Or something doesn't go like their way on the field. He doesn't get the ball in the box. It's like, oh my God. Like, I do fault the roster construction here. I thought that they were going to have a very good midfield because I thought they weren't going to use Sabovich as a 6 that much. I thought they were just going to use him as like kind of a box crashing 8, which was what he did in Sweden with your Gardens. But no, they have him as a 6 because Nico Estevez hates to have fun. I just still can't believe that Minnesota found a way to win this game 3-0. XG wise, they had 0.53 XG, one of which, of course, was the Stuver goal. The best goal that they created, mind you, was just a really, really good header from Anthony Markanek, which was their second goal. And even so, like Austin has pretty good center backs. They're usually pretty good defending those types of crosses.
What the hell happened? It was a header.
Yeah. How do you let Anthony Markanek get to that ball and basically have a free header there? That's mind-blowing. And then I don't even need to speak about the third goal because the third goal was just, it seemed like garbage time. Where there's 3 straight shots. There's Oluwaseyi's shot, which is blocked. Sangbin trying to follow up. And then Pereira, who actually, like, what a fantastic finish. I think that's my goal of the week this week. But, there's still something broken with Austin, and if anything, you can't spend $30 million on an attack and keep getting shut out at home. How many goals does Vasquez have this year? Like 2? Uzuni has 1, maybe?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Does Bukhari even have a goal?
Nope.
And also the craziest part about that is that it's not that they haven't had chances, it's that they blow all those chances, which is really funny.
I'll open it up to Joss and Daniel. You guys got any thoughts on either of these two teams?
I have some thoughts. But building off of some of the points that Jeremy made, I wanted to mention that some of these stats for Austin's front line are ridiculous. They have 7 goals in 11 games so far, Austin as a whole. And that includes a -6 goal difference through 11 games. They paid $30 million, guys. I don't know if that's talked about enough, and I think it'll only be more talked about as we get further into the season if this continues, because that is, in my opinion, that is such a, I mean, it's not even in my opinion, like that is just genuinely bad. That might be one of the worst roster construction experiments that I've seen in this league so far. And speaking of roster construction, Minnesota United, I love when a team clearly has a system and they will they will defend that system until they die. And Minnesota is, in my opinion, they are one of the best teams at playing one system and doing well with that one system. And so picking up like a Julian Gressel, which we talked about last week, who clearly like it's like a puzzle piece fitting in, and having him come on and be a right wing back or a midfielder, depending on whatever Eric Ramsey wants from him. I just think that that's so smart and a complete opposite of what Austin are doing in terms of roster construction. They play to the strengths of the players, and Eric Ramsey has a very specific system for a very specific kind of player. And like I said earlier in the season, they are MLS's Stoke City. You can see it with all the fouls or throw-ins and how everyone goes forward. An interesting stat here is that Minnesota, right around 40% possession, if they go above 40%, that's when they seem to be losing games. But if they're below that, they seem to be winning more games. I just felt like that was very to see. Really like what Eric Ramsey's done so far. Can't he praises on him more. I just love the system works, and Minnesota are do or die for their system.
Anything you want to add here, Daniel? Because I got one last thing on Austin, then we can move on.
Yeah, me and Jeremy had a funny Twitter exchange about this game before it happened. He had quote tweeted the over under or the point spread for this game, which was 2.5%. And he was like, that's crazy low, or that's crazy high for like two low scoring teams. And I made the joke, and I actually did it, that I was going to take the alternate spread at -1.5 because I thought this was going to be like a 1-0 win by Minnesota. So talk about a bad beat there. How did you guys feel Julian Gressel filled in to his role this game? Do you look comfortable to you guys?
Well, he came in midfield, right? And for me, I think one thing I want to mention is that Robin Lod he hasn't been the player that he usually has been. And that's just this crafty passer of the ball. And you know, he's probably better in a possession-based team. I don't know if he's that, you know, well equipped to be one of the eights in a transition team. Maybe Julian Gressel can be. But again, this team came out in a even out of like a new 3-4-3, which I think they pushed Bongi higher up the pitch, if I'm not mistaken. Even with a little slight change there in their, or no. Actually, they had Robin Lod playing at striker here in for Yeboah. I like him as a hold-up guy. In midfield, I kind of do want to see either Gressel there, and if not Gressel there, I want to see Gressel as a wingback, as we mentioned last week. What did y'all guys make of Gressel this week?
I mean,
I think he'll really become important if Minnesota play a game where they're losing. That's what I think, because we're in a game where they're going to have to chase and actually have to create and try and possess the ball. I feel like that's where he's really going to be important. I don't really have too many takeaways, but it's really funny that his first big action in a Minnesota jersey was clearing a ball off the line.
Yep.
Before we move on, I did want to rag on Austin one last time because Eric Goodman at Goodman tweeted out this presser interaction between himself and he's a reporter for Austin FC. This interaction between him and Nico Estevez, where Estevez said he felt his team responded well after going down 1-0 early to Minnesota. And despite the 3-0 final score, he said, "I'm very proud of the team today." And that's just kind of the levels of delusion we're approaching with Austin right now. You know, on one hand, you have fans leaving, going on TikTok and, you know, screaming that the team is garbage. And then the other end, inside the bowels of the stadium, you have Nico Estevez saying he was proud of the team today. And mind you, he wasn't proud of the performance, which he had to clarify in the tense exchange, but he was proud of the team for, I don't know. I don't know what there. Let's move on, though. Let's get to your MLS team, starting from the bottom. We talked about LA Galaxy in that matchup. Let's talk about Montreal, who hosted Philadelphia Union. I had the pleasure of watching Montreal play here. And I say it's a pleasure because of all the bottom teams, and I'm going to list them all out. We're going to talk about them too. Let's go from the bottom five, or the bottom six, right? St. Louis, Houston, Atlanta, Toronto, Montreal, and Galaxy. Of those six, the only one I would ever want to tune in weekly to watch is Montreal. And that's because, guys, they're fun, all right? They are fun because they want to so badly be Columbus Crew, so badly want to pass the ball around, play out of a 5. Now they're playing out of a 5-3-2, but a little formation change for them. They got Tom Pierce a little bit more involved. Dante Celia as a winger, fullback hybrid. I thought he was, you know, fun with the ball at his feet, and then his decision making was meh. He tried to bait a lot of penalties. Didn't get one at all. And you know, Philly. We'll talk about Philly later, but I think Montreal overall are going to be a better team with Vrioni. I know it's it's kind of a meme to be a Vrioni stan, but there's part of me that just I can't help but like the guy. I'm a big Vrioni supporter. I want him to win. I want him to score goals. I want him to be a good, goal scoring threat in the league. Because I don't know, something about his profile. It's like that is an MLS striker right there. And so, he got some more time in this one. I think he'll get. I think he should. Him and Owusu as like dual strikers. I think that is a decent plan moving forward. I don't know how I feel about Urbers, who got the start here. I think him and Saliba are kind of the same guys, so you kind of need one more to be dynamic there. But if it sounds like I'm optimistic, let me just hit reality. Montreal still lost despite playing well, and that's just kind of the theme here for them. Does anyone have any thoughts on Montreal they want to add? I know it kind of just rambled off, but I mean, is anyone else feeling like, yeah, all these other teams are so mid compared to Montreal? I don't know. What say y'all? Are we ready to move on here?
No, I do have one quick thing about Montreal because I remembered this because last year when I was like looking at Defender of the Year, trying to figure out who I was going to vote for Defender of the Year, I chose Mikhail, by the way, because I have an official like vote for the league. I chose Mikhail with it, but I was surprised to see just how highly goals added rated Gabriele Corbo.
Yeah.
I think he was one of the top 5 center backs in the league in terms of cumulative goals added. They're missing him. They are absolutely missing him. And they chose not to retain him in the offseason. And in his place, they've been starting Alvarez, who makes one big error every game. At least
error.
One.
Costly, too.
Yeah. So I feel like even if you don't think Corbo was the guy going forward, you had to do a little bit better than just still chucking Alvarez out there every single week. So, yeah, they're missing Corbo. They really are, and that's the most evident thing throughout this start. And Vrioni, by the way, I like how you're making the Vrioni points because he scored an unbelievable goal in the Canadian Championship midweek. He had a scissor kick against Toronto and allowed Montreal to win on penalties, which is technically their first victory of the season. They did it against their biggest rivals. You have to hand it to them. So, the Vrioni's goal this weekend was his second goal in his second straight game, and I think that getting 2 goals in 2 straight games for him, that's a huge boost to his confidence. They'll be fine. I think Montreal will be fine-ish in the long run, but they're still handicapped by the fact that they don't really have any top-end talent. But yeah, other than that, my other takeaway is Owusu's physical profile. I don't get why they aren't just lumping in cross after cross after cross after cross. Like, you don't need to get really cute with the ball when you're gonna play 2 big strikers up top. Well, 1 big striker and then Vrioni. I don't think Vrioni's like that big, or he might be like a Gonago type where he might not. I don't think he's that big, but he is bigger than what I think he is. I just keep sending balls into Owusu and play for the second ball. That's how they can attack. You don't need to get all cutesy on the ball and shit.
Definitely not. Another team I think is probably doing a lot on, well, probably not enough on the ball, honestly. Toronto FC, they did lose that midweek match to Montreal, so they are officially out of the Canadian Championship, and now they got to focus on the league here. I had Daniel on this one. What did you make of Toronto in their matchup here? A 2-0 loss against New England.
Brother, Toronto is just the team that keeps inventing new ways to break their fans' hearts. I swear. If you're a Toronto fan listening to this, brother, grab a seat, go plan your vacation for the summer, go find something stress relieving to do. This is tough. So they got beat up by the New England Revolution, and let's just say it kind of came out like a team that forgot they were hosting a home game. At least that's kind of how it felt. They lost 2-0. It was 2-0 by the 27th minute, and they kind of just let Carlos Gil do whatever he wanted to him. He hit I don't know if you guys saw this circulating around Twitter or not. but he hit an absolute screamer, and we'll talk about it more when we talk about New England. But like the second you watch that go in, you're like, oh no, like Toronto, there's no way they're coming back from this. Their response was kind of like watching someone try to put out a house fire with a squirt gun. They had 2 shots on target all game. They had 0 ideas in the final third. It's like the midfield and the attack don't even have each other's cell phone numbers. Like they don't even communicate with each other. Cornbenu and Insigne were trying. Insigne, they look considerably better when they put Insigne in around the 60th minute, honestly. I don't understand why he's not getting more time. The dude makes $15 million a year. Just put him in the game, man. You do look better when he's playing, at least in the final third. And if it wasn't rough enough, the fans made sure that everybody knew how they felt. Midway through the second half, banners started popping up in the stands protesting club management. The message was loud and clear. It said, "We're tired of the same old mediocrity." Security came in, scooped up the banners, and escorted some of the fans out, which, let's be real, probably only fired up the frustration even more with this team. Zoom out. This loss drops Toronto to 1-6-4 in the season. That's 7 points from 11 matches, bottom tier in the East, and in the kind of form that gets coaches side eyeing their own resumes. We talked about this off the podcast. I think Robin Fraser is probably going to be looking for a new job at the end of this year. Up next, they have DC United on May 10th. On paper, it seems winnable, but right now, Toronto couldn't find 3 points with a treasure map and a flashlight. So this next stretch of games is massive. If they don't turn it around soon, this season's going to be toast by midsummer for sure.
Damn. I kind of want to give Robin another window to kind of figure it out, but man, it's
really hard to watch.
He has the 2 albatrosses weighing him down. Like, that's it. Well, specifically one, because Bernadeschi tries sometimes, but...
Yeah, but I mean, I think Insigne has at least played to I don't know if he's playing for another contract, but he is definitely just holding down the whole thing. But man, I don't think they'd be better with John Herdman. I'm going to say that right now, because I think this team is just as dysfunctional as it is. It's hard to really, see what they're doing. Am I talking about Toronto or Atlanta? Because a lot can be applied there too. This was an early match, so I'm sure we all got a chance to see it and talk about it. But assigned here is Josh, man. Tell us, what is our gaffer Ronnie doing?
Yeah, that is a question that has plagued a lot of Atlanta United fans, I think, for a lot of time this season. I mentioned before when I was talking to Weeby about, what are some of the best places that he's been in the league so far this season. He said Atlanta were fun until they were bad. And really, I think, he said that he loved being out in Atlanta, especially because he was there when Miami were in town, and then they got bad. So that kind of goes a long way to describe the feeling around Atlanta United so far this season. And Gaffer Ronnie doesn't seem to really know what to do here. And I want to point out a specific stat. Atlanta, after scoring through Miguel Almiron around the 20th minute, they accumulated just 0.07 XG in the final 70 minutes. Now, for all those
0.07.
Yes, for all those math, it's to not good. And this is for somebody who just watched a team not have a shot and win. Not good. So I want to talk a little bit about kind of the lineup that Atlanta put out. They actually did end up playing Fortune in this. He started in this game, and I thought that was great. I really like what Fortune provides. I think it's different to a lot of what to Atlanta, like Atlanta's other options. I really like his energy and his passing ability, and he seems to be everywhere, all over the pitch. But beyond that goal from Miguel Almiron, which was great, there was a lot of interchange between Atlanta's kind of 3 behind Latte Loth, and the goal actually comes from 2 crosses, one from Brooksland, one from Amador, and then Almiron's able to ghost in basically and score the opener. But from that point, it all kind of goes south. And I know we're going to touch on Nashville later, but for their goal off of the corner kick, if you guys go back and watch Mateus Click. because he barely gets touched by the Nashville player. I forget who it is. I think it's Yazbek. He barely gets touched by Yazbek, and he goes flying and completely loses his man. Lovitz is able to go in and get the equalizer from the corner. But if I'm an Atlanta fan, I am pissed at that, because why? He looks like he had a seizure and just fell on the field. And, I've never played professionally. I never played past a high school level. But you don't usually do that when you're defending corners. So I can finally summarize the game with the boos at the end for that rained down from whoever was left in Mercedes-Benz Field, because it wasn't very many. It was a very empty stadium, which is a far cry from where they used to be. And unfortunately for Atlanta, we didn't even get a Guzan freezing, falling back into the goal type of no wins on either end for Atlanta.
Yeah, one thing I want to note about that, I do like you brought up Ajani Fortune, but I think Gaffer Ronnie fucked it up with where he played him. I think Ajani Fortune needs to be in midfield as a two-way player. He was kind of more on the wing. And what happened was you had Miranchuk kind of trying to play the Ricky Pooge role of like dropping down into midfield and trying to pick out, passes. But then Nashville would just press the hell out of him and win the ball back. And he was just a turnover machine, dude. Like Miranchuk, from what I've seen, is best as a right winger, right? But you can't put him there because that's Saba's best position, which he was in. And I want to note that Saba did not have a good game here either. So it's not like you're getting much from Saba out there. And Ajani Fortune, though, I thought he had a great performance in this one, trying to be the only active player. He shouldn't be the wide threat. Like Gaffer Ronnie, like do you even know your players, bro? Because you keep setting up Miranchuk in a position to fail. Ajani Fortune's sheer class alone is evident. The fact that he can be, semi-productive on the wing. But man, this is another one where they've spent. And the two of the, more spending teams in the league, and they can't figure it out on the attacking end. It's definitely one to just, I don't even know if you should follow it, because I'm like, what's going to be the catalyst? When are we going to be able to sit and watch ATL and be like, damn, they're back. This sucks. You know what I mean? I get joy out of watching Galaxy struggle. ATL, I'm more like, come on, y'all. I get more big chested. Where are you at? You know what I mean? But let's move on. Let's talk about Houston Dynamo. They went to LAFC and got their shit rocked. Talk to us, Jeremy. What did you make of Houston's performance here?
I'm going to start by reading some stats. Houston had 51% possession. They were outshot 19-4. They did not have a shot on target. And they were out expected goals 2.12 to 0.23. Now, this could be a sign of LAFC's defense just actually being good. But I still think that Ben Olsen is trying to run his same system as last year without actually trying to figure out which players go where and which players go best. Also, by the way, Franco Escobar second red. I love seeing that. Hate that little prick.
Late too, very late.
There's a lot of pricks on this team. I've realized, and also what I've realized is what has Jonathan Bond done to take the starting job away from Blake Gillingham? Legitimately, what is he just because he's from England? He gets to start. Gillingham was fantastic, filling in for Tarbell and Maurer, who are just such MLS backup keeper names, and of course they've been in this league for so long. But You had Gillingham there. I don't know why you'd screw with that. But I feel like there isn't so much to be said about Houston here. I think it's just LAFC is very good again. But if there is stuff to say about Houston, there's a lot of Femi Awodesu praise going around. I would urge you to take a look at what happens to him on Jeremy Abobasi's goal, which is the second goal of the game and the one that completely puts it away for LAFC. He's the ball's going right at him. It just goes right by him. Got to make a block there. So I feel like the Mikael replacement, I guess it is nice to see Awodesu get all these minutes and basically become the one center back who I think he started every single game this year, which good for him as a draft pick. That's really good. But they're still trying to figure out the best spot for Linger to play, which, by the way, he completed 100% of his passes in this game. The problem is that he only passed one time into the final third. So, I feel like they have to figure out where Linger's going to fit best. Is it going to be as a second striker? Is it going to be as a winger? Where does McGlynn fit in this? I know he's not going to be he shouldn't be trusted to be in their little protective pivot, the one that used to be Herrera in Artur, but is now looking like Brooklyn Reigns in Artur. Which I mean, I don't mind Brooklyn Reigns being there either. But where does he play? Does he play the Karaskia half winger role? Does he play the bossy 10 role? And they're still really missing just a speedy guy out wide. So Quinones is going to be back before Anali. They need him more than anything. But you know who else they could have used? Aliu, who they traded. So yeah, I don't see much it's not so much there's a ton of hope for Houston. It's just Olsen's team selection's kind of letting them down, and they're trying to play the system that got them an Open Cup title and a Western Conference Finals appearance with just significantly lesser players than they had.
Yeah, and I think the big thing here that they've been missing, kind of like Austin as a creator, at least Houston have an active fullback in Griffin Dorsey kind of doing some stuff, but they're still kind of missing I think it is Jack McGlynn, but they're just so married to a wide style of play. I'm change it up a bit. Go double striker or even I don't know. I don't know what you do with this team because they're missing just some guy that can unlock them. A real glue guy. I think they're missing. I don't know. It's not there's a clear disconnect, I think, there. Much like
you're saying they should start Ladero, is what you're saying.
Man, they should dump his ass in the fountain of youth and then get him out there. That's what I think they should do. But beyond that, let's move on. Enough of the bottom teams. Let's talk about St. Louis, who I think Josh would consider a bottom team, but through all that, through all the teams that we talked about, St. Louis remain somehow a bit. I mean, no, I don't want to say that. At the bottom of the standings here, I don't know how St. Louis is there. I think it's goal differential. I don't know, but I had Daniel on this one, and he was ready to make some bold claims about St. Louis, and I'll just let Daniel take it away. What'd you make of St. Louis on this one, man?
What were the bold claims I was ready to make?
I don't know. You tell me.
My gosh, guys, honestly, my biggest bold claim here is I'm going to spin this into a positive for the league.
Okay.
So 2 years ago, St. Louis came out and they won the West, right? Since then, with a similar style of play, they've been absolutely atrocious. So this is my way of saying the West is getting better and the league as a whole is getting better because we won't allow frauds like St. Louis to do what they did in 2022. Now, on this season, they're sitting at 2-5-4. They've gone 7 straight games without a win. Looking pretty rough. Their last outing was a trip up to face the Seattle Sounders, and man, it started promising. They actually went up early. Hartel banged a penalty home the 29th minute, and you're thinking, okay, maybe they might have a get-right game going on here. Spoiler alert, it was not a get-right game. Seattle basically looked at that early goal and said, cute, and then just proceeded to run them off the field. Yeah, it was a pretty rough watch. It's not... Here's the tricky thing. It's not all doom and gloom. I mean, there are some bright spots. Cedric Tuchert had been doing his thing up top. quietly keeping them in games with some clutch finishing. And props to Ben Lunt, who stepped in for Berkey. It's pretty big shoes to fill, and he actually had some pretty big saves this year. Looking ahead, they've got a real chance to reset the vibes with the U.S. Open Cup match they got coming up against the Union Omaha on May 8th. It's one of those let's shake off the MLS stress and make a run in the cup kind of games. Then it's back to league play with a matchup against San Diego FC. And honestly, that kind of feels like a must-win vibes check for this team at this point. Bottom line, St. Louis SC is kind of figuring out what a lot of teams do after, being an expansion side for a couple years. And Austin kind of went through the same thing last year too. Just trying to figure it out. That's
So
the vibes I have right now.
They're in their Austin era then.
They're in their Austin era. Austin's really trying to claw out of their Austin era. St. Louis has officially entered their Austin era.
I do agree with you on some points. Like, I do think their next MLS game against San Diego is kind of a must-win. But I also want to draw attention to just how long their injury report is. So, for this team, by the way, you have a total of Durkin, huge key midfielder for them last year. He's hurt. Kessler, their best center back, out. Berkey, the designated player goalkeeper, out. And Totland, their best right wing back, out. Totland's absence, ironically, has been the most important because it means they have to play Kyle Hebert at right back and right wing back, which doesn't work. And it hasn't worked. And Mellberg is being really stubborn and trying to change that. For this game, it just feels like when you're defending so deep in a block, there's one team that's really good at exploiting that block. The problem is that team doesn't usually finish their chances that well, and that's the Sounders. The Sounders finished their chances tonight in that game. So, yeah, I don't know how big of I don't know how humongous this red flag is, but the encouraging sign that I'm going to give is the return of Edward Leuven, because he does make this team incredibly different. He is their best set piece taker. He is he's one of the better two-way eights in the league, at least I would say. So, yeah. I mean, there are bright spots. They're still shaking off this injury crisis, but yeah, that injury crisis being there in the first place makes you wonder, what is Mellberg doing with these guys in training? Players just should not be getting injured at this rate.
Let's move ahead to DC United over at Troy Lesed, who beat the Colorado Rapids without Chris Armas. And what is there to say besides the fact that this was a classic Colorado Rapids combustion, and DC did their best to just, I don't know if you guys watched the game, but they stole the win in the first half. In the first half, yes, because after they scored, they were fine with just giving away possession. And I really hate having to talk about DC right now because they did beat the Rapids. But the Rapids made Luis Barraza look like one of the best goalkeepers in the league, and that is just criminal because Barraza has largely been kind of mid this season, and so has DC. I mean, how DC is above all these teams that we mentioned is beyond me. They are 23rd, out of 30. But Jose Kojima playing as a winger, it's fun stuff. I think they have a good utility player in him. Boris E now kind of coming in, and he had been kind of in and out of the lineup, but there had to be a change for DC. They usually had played out of a 3. I think it is a 3-4-3 here that they had. So sorry, I'm bumbling on DC mostly because they played Kojima at left wing, and that kind of ruined my brain there. But back then they had Peglo there, still without him, and Aaron Herrera, who is still playing as a wing back. I think he still needs to play as a center back. They have Connor Antley in there, who is really, he was looking awesome. I don't know if you guys know much about Connor Antley, but he was looking like a very, very tidy fullback last season. before he had a career season-ending injury. Not a career, my bad. But yeah, he's kind of officially back now. And if there's any, need for a reliable defender, DC are going to need him to really step up. I quite like his game coming up from the USL last season. So beyond that, DC just kind of smashed and grabbed Colorado at home. And that's pretty much the tale of the tape there. Does anyone have anything they want to mention on DC, or do we want to go to Salt Lake with Daniel?
I have one quick thing about DC, specifically because you mentioned how Kojima playing at left wing broke your brain. You're not alone. It also broke Reggie Cannon's brain. So, yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that for the Rapids section because I have a lot to say about Reggie Cannon. But you're right. You're absolutely right. Kojima dogged Cannon that day. So, we got blasted by a LinkedIn merchant. Oh man.
Yeah. Also, by the way, it's very encouraging to see DC pick up a win like this without their best player, Joao Pedro. So that is all I'm going to say. But Benteke does Benteke things, and that just happens. He's going to win that header over Awazium. It's just really unfortunate. But hey, that's a home win. They needed a home win like this, and you know what? Good for them. And it's made Juanners Lassane in the membrane as well.
Yep, that's I talk so much shit only for it to just happen to me. Let's talk to Daniel about Real Salt Lake. After bitching in the Discord about getting a bunch of bad teams, he said, "I made sure he got the Vancouver Whitecaps. All right, probably one of the best teams in the league right now, but." They did some cooling off, some weekend celebration after beating Miami, and finally getting some rest here after just weeks and weeks and weeks of fixture congestion. I thought the Whitecaps would have lost here, but they get the win against Salt Lake. But we're not talking about Vancouver. Let's talk about Salt Lake. What did you make of their performance here? It's kind of. You're asking a lot out of a team starting Xavier Gozo to go into Vancouver and lead the right wing. But what'd you make of RSL here, Daniel?
Yeah, it was kind of a tough out. I didn't really think RSL. I'm actually shocked that you thought they had a chance in this game, to be honest. It just Vancouver, the way they've showed like time and time again that they can just beat anyone. We're not talking about Vancouver. Sorry. It's just there's very little to say about Real Salt Lake that's positive. They made it a game for about 10 minutes. To their credit, I mean, they've tried fighting back. I mean, Diego Luna, who's basically the only bright spot for them every week at this point, buried a penalty in stoppage time. I guess salvaged a little bit of dignity for him. The big problem is it's always the same story with him at this point. Little defensive lapses here and there. Can't really keep the back door shut. They've really struggled to create chances since they've lost Chicho Arango, Anderson Julio, Fidel Barrios. I mean, they've just lost it. Sorry, guys. A+ podcasting right there.
You're choking just like RSL are choking.
Yeah, sorry, that was A+ podcasting, but yes, essentially. It's just they were great last year. They could try to do a lot of what they did last year really, really well. This year, they just don't really have the finishers to play the same way. Probably a little bit on coaching, probably a little bit more on the front office. Let's see if they add anybody. I know they're looking for a striker for the summer, but that's neither here nor there at this point.
Yeah,
we'll give their. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, we can thank SKC for sending him one of their better players in Agata. Thanks a lot, Joss.
My fault. I'll talk to my. Hey, don't forget Johnny Russell as well.
Yes, Johnny Russell. Yes. How does that feel, Joss?
We've talked a lot about SKC, so I won't spend too much time on this. But I was having what SKC does with like their club legends is they put them up on the wall on the stadium, and I was having these thoughts already. I don't think Russell goes on the wall over a fair few players in SKC's recent history, but for a lot of other people, that has been sort of solidified by his move to Salt Lake.
Ooh. How hard our club legends die. going
For
to
real.
RSL. I should know all about that. Pablo Maschereni, former Rapids club legend, went over there and he's their head coach. Are we thinking he's the next to be sacked, or is there anyone else that's like? I mean, Robin Fraser maybe, but I'm gonna ask.
Well, it was Lassane, probably.
Maybe or not. Not Pareja. Sorry.
Pareja,
Dawson.
damn.
No, not
Estevez.
Yeah, Estevez. Sorry, I confused. Yeah, Estevez. I mean, 30 million on an attack. That's like that.
What about you, Daniel? Who would your shout for next sacked would be?
Ooh, probably Robin Fraser, if I'm being honest. But this guy's up there too.
Notice
There,
how no
honestly,
one said Gaffer
I'm thinking
Ronnie.
about making a list here of just like 5 to 7 coaches that probably need to go just after a couple years of bad performances here. But yeah, Robin Fraser probably, because they're just a disaster up in Toronto.
Any other
Is
closing?
it too?
Oh, go for it, Jeremy.
Really
Sorry.
quickly, just on that fire coaches thing. When does Melberg start entering that territory?
I mean, St.
Just
Louis.
just one more defender, and it'll be good. I promise. Just one more.
I mean, St. Louis did not give Carnell the benefit of the doubt of being able to manage Hartel and Teucher when they came in last year. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were that kind of toxic of a front office and said, I mean, Lou Pfannenstiel, right? Like, that guy's kind of a nut. So I could definitely see it.
Remember, you could win the MLS with a bunch of Bundesliga 2 players.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. Oh my! Also, one quick Salt Lake point. Justin Glad started right back in this one, and he got torched by Jaden Nelson. Not good. Not good. Pretty predictable outcome there. That's all I have to say.
Any closing thoughts here, Daniel? Or are you ready to move on?
No, we can move on. I think we've just about covered it all.
I know you love talking Salt Lake, so we'll just move on.
They're electric.
An actual team that I think is actually electric is Chicago FC. They hosted Orlando City, and a red card kind of ruined their game. But one person I really want to highlight is Philip Zinkernagel. He is just fun to watch when he has the ball at his feet. And I thought it'd be Bamba who would be and don't get me wrong, Bamba's awesome, but Zinkernagel is just kind of like, he's just kind of a different type of player, really. Like he is he's one of the few journeyman mercenary type players, because if you've seen his like list of clubs, it is a laundry list between now and 2020, right? But I think he's been playing quite well this in MLS, and it's only a matter of time before that midfield really clicks for Chicago. Christopher Cupps, 16-year-old center back, started ahead of I think Sam Williams is the midfielder. They have two Sams there, so it kind of messes me up. But Rogers has been kind of mid, and Jack Elliott has been doing a lot to compensate for his midness. And I thought Cupps was all right. I mean, they posted a clean sheet, right? And a lot of the big issues with Chicago was their midfield is kind of, for lack of a better word, mid. When you have Sergio Origel and you have Mauricio Pineda, who had a surprise start despite last week being pulled before the half. And one player I'm not seeing here, guys, and I think might be time to move on, is Kellen Acosta. I don't know if Kellen Acosta fits on the Chicago side as well as he did initially on paper, and the fact that they posted a clean sheet without him, and not only that, they were also without Chris Brady, right? So Jeffrey Gall comes in, and while I don't think he was, I think they're you're gonna miss Brady for sure, but backup goalkeeper in there still put up a clean sheet. Andrew Gutman with a very, very good performance here. It was just kind of a 0-0 that was like, damn, is Chicago really down a man here? Like, it didn't feel like that at all. Any questions about Chicago? Any thoughts from the lads here? Or are we ready to move on?
I do have a quick point on that Acosta mention. He's hurt.
Nah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Was that confirmed? I didn't see that on the injury report.
It looks like he is hurt. He did not make the match day squad. So I'd keep an eye out for that on the next injury report. But Chicago is very unlucky in my mind that they ran into this Pedro Gallese instead of like first month of the season Pedro Gallese. This is like one of those 0-0 draws you tell your kids about. Just like, can you believe that one team was playing like this and they were down a man the entire time? Also, Zinkernagel, the broadcast was calling him the Great Dane. Ooh, I love that.
You can't though. You can't. The Great Dane is in Vancouver. I will say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the bald one, but like, you know. You have to hit him on something. It's like he's so good at everything else. He's like so good at like managing a team. Like he's bald. Like I got to put that in there.
Bald people can't be great. Write that down, everybody.
They can be great. It's just like it's the only, I guess, like it's the only thing I've seen. I'm just like I can't get mad at him for like anything. Like I could say he looks like Sid the Sloth a little bit, but like Sartini looked like Sid the Sloth from the right angle. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm having trouble with it. But yeah, Chicago, you're very fun. You're very, very fun. You absolutely should have won this game. Kuiper should have scored at least 2 before Brady got sent off. What a missed opportunity. How have they not won a game at home this year?
They're getting in their heads, man. They're getting in their heads. Let's move on to another fun one. This one had some goals, though. San Jose beating Jeremy's team here. And part of the downfall of being assigned your team for these is you got to talk about the opposition that just beat your team. At least the Rapids kind of lost in a fluky way. This one, I think, is just kind of a come down to earth moment for Portland. A whoa, like kind of a little slap in the face, but not without reason. We'll talk about that when we get to Portland. They had some changes in the lineup, but so too did San Jose, who they moved Christian Espinoza from the wingback position in favor of DeJuan Jones, who just was, I thought, a very, very good piece for them here. But Jeremy, tell us about San Jose here. How did they crack the Portland backline code here?
Well, okay, here there are 2 things I'm going to actually no wait. I have like 3 or 4 like just big statements to make about this game. First of all, at the start of the season, in our predictions, I picked San Jose to finish 4th in the West. This was before they acquired DeJuan Jones, before they got Noel Buck. I said, I see them finishing 4th. The problem with the way their season has started was Arena's insistence to play both to play both Martinez and Arango alongside each other, which like in theory should work. But it shuttles probably your best player in Espinoza out to the wing, but specifically at wingback. And when he's left and he has when he's just kept attacking, because he's going to keep attacking, he's not going to defend that much. He leaves so much space open on that side, and teams are just exploiting that. Look at what Daniel Shallowy did to them, and did to San Jose in that game. That was just all Shallowy, just completely abusing that gap that Espinoza was using by getting too forward. So when Martinez is out for this game, and Bruce finally realizes, let's see what Arango's going to do as like the lone striker in this, and you actually get Buda and Espinoza alongside him as actual wingers, something starts to cook here, because suddenly the San Jose team is balanced. Not only are they able to defend better, but their attacks look the most dangerous they have all year. And that includes a game where they put a 6th spot on DC, who aren't a very good defensive team, by the way. So if you score 1 goal against DC, that's just, what are you thinking? But, by the way, moving on to the other key part of this, because Juanners also mentioned the defensive changes that Portland were forced to make due to injury. The ballad of Claudio Bravo, which I sung in detail in my recap of this game. Bravo rated as the 3rd highest player in this game on Portland's side in terms of goals added, which, once again, the reason why I like this stat is because it measures a player's total on-ball contributions. So every time they have the ball at their feet, whatever they're doing with the ball, there's good stuff there. And Bravo, usually very good with the ball at his feet. The problem is, off the ball and defending in space, he makes some of the most boneheaded positional decisions I've ever seen out of a left back. Especially out of a left back who is playing opposite a right back who wants to get forward all the time. So it often leaves Portland center backs isolated. And I think for the first time this year, you actually saw like really isolated Timber center backs. And Chicho Arango knew exactly what to do. Arango was the best player on this pitch today. It wasn't Espinoza, even though Espinoza scores the brace. Probably should have had a hat trick, but the penalty was taken away. I actually kind of think unjustly. But at the same point, this is the San Jose Earthquakes that I kind of like envisioned. I envisioned this team becoming a little bit better defensively. Like, yeah, they gave up 1.885 expected goals, but this game was over at halftime, even though it was 3-1. Because the way the Timbers were playing in that first half, allowing yourself to get blitzed for 3 goals, it's going to be really tough to come back from that, especially when San Jose is so ready to just bunker and counter. Because if one thing was prevalent during that first half, this team can attack directly. So, Timbers-wise, I'm not too upset about this, but San Jose-wise, given that I picked them to finish 4th in the West, this is the San Jose that I was envisioning. I don't think Martinez needs to return to the starting lineup. I really don't. It screws up their defense too much. They need to be a better defensive team in order to start winning games and climbing the table. Having Joseph Martinez just available off the bench if you need him, that's what makes you a really good team. Because, hey, if Arango's having an off night, you just sub on Joseph. If you're chasing a game because your defense hasn't done that well, then you sub on Joseph and you really go for it. But the Quakes, no matter what, they do go for it. And this was a very, very good win for them. Although I believe that I don't think they should have scored 4 goals because Maxime Crépeau was horrendous in this game. Absolutely horrendous.
Joss, you want to get in on this San Jose stuff? Do you have a thought here?
I have a couple thoughts. Firstly, I didn't realize that Crépeau started this game. Is there a reason for that? Is Pantemis hurt?
Yeah, Pantemis and left back Jimmer Forey were both hurt for this game. So Bravo and Crépeau started. This is Bravo's. Keep in mind, this was Bravo's first start of the season, 11 matches in, and this was Crépeau's second start of the season after giving up 4 goals against Vancouver in the season opener.
Tough. Got it. Okay. But I want to talk about San Jose, and I want to talk about, I know you touched on him, but Juan Jones. I know we've kind of touched on how Bruce Arena is bringing his boys from New England over to San Jose. But I follow a few San Jose fans on Twitter. One of them said that they've got the MLS Roberto Carlos when they picked up Juan Jones. And it's hard to disagree. I mean, 2 assists in this game. I as soon as I saw that signing, I was like, that is a fantastic signing, especially for this. And this was a culmination of all of that coming together. It's Juwan Jones who is he's gotten the 2 assists, and he is a marauding right wing back. He's been that for most of his career. But also with Christian Espinoza moving him further forward, which is something that just you have to have him further forward. You have to have him occupying that right wing space because he is one of the best wingers in this league. And he's especially so good one-on-one. And even from the right wing back spot, I think he had like the most crosses in the league at one point. But now you're putting him in the position where he can score goals too, which is something that he's always been decent at. I also really do want to shout out, I believe it, Daniel Mooney. Right, American pronunciation.
You really didn't want it to be Mooney, did you?
No, but hey, maybe that goes in our best Major League Soccer names. I'm Daniel Mooney when it's spelled like that but pronounced like that. His passing has unlocked another level for the San Jose team against Sporting Kansas City. He had a pass into Preston Judd, where Judd faked it and it went to Martinez. and that's when they won the penalty. But he was, again, really good this week, and he's so good at advancing that ball into midfield. Now they've got Noel Buck who can play in there now, and Noel Buck is very good at advancing it to the forwards. But I really like Mooney in the way that Bruce Arena's used him, and his ability to like switch the play, play the balls, break the lines. Like, I think every modern 3-back needs a center back that can break the lines. And that, for me, San Jose had that with Daniel Mooney. So just really been impressed with him.
Yeah. Also, just to touch on the defense a little bit, Jones, by the way, that might be one of the first players that is better not in a Wilfred Nancy system that I've seen. Very interesting to think about. But also, Daniel was able to start this game again, and personally, going from Earl Edwards Jr. to one of the best goalkeepers in the league is always going to be a huge boost. So, as San Jose can fix their defending, which I firmly believe that they can, it just goes to adding like a better attacking structure that can therefore help the defense, and being able to get DeJuan Jones into the lineup, they'll be fine. They'll absolutely be fine. And I can absolutely see this team finishing 4th place.
Another team that needs to bulk up their defense is FC Dallas. They got crushed 5-0 by San Diego FC. I'm going to go to Josh to this one because I have him on Dallas here. What'd you make of Dallas? They did try out a new formation, a 3-5-2, I think, something like that. Or
Yeah.
3-4-1-2, something. A 5-3-2.
3-4-2-1, 3-5-2, 3. They conceded 5 goals.
Exactly, my man. What'd you make of Dallas in this one, man?
He got cooked, dude. Oh my god. Look, I said a couple weeks ago, I thought Peter Musa was like a top 3 striker in this league, and this run for Dallas has actually done great things for my agenda, because I can say things like, if Musa was in, this ends 5-5, and he scores all 5 goals, and nobody can really refute me because he didn't play. So we're just gonna take my word for it. They got washed.
Well,
and I'm watching.
I will counter, Josh. They did score 4 on Miami in the last game without Musa.
True, but Miami don't have center backs.
Okay, point conceded.
That is a good point, but again, we're talking about this week, Juan. Please, let's keep up.
All right, well, what does Dallas need? Because I don't know if it's a Boubacar playing out of a back 3, and this is someone that's loved a Boubacar, like watching them their career.
Yeah, Dallas. It's hard. I think the problem is, they went out and they got Lucho Acosta as the number 10. That's great. That's fantastic. And I think when Dallas are all healthy, like legitimately, Lucho and Peter Musa together, like there is enough creative force there to help this out. I also don't think they need to play Julio as a left wing back. That's personally, I'm not sure why they did that. I've scoured my memory, and I can't remember a time where he was playing left wing back across his time in MLS, either at RSL or at FC Dallas. I mean, he started at striker against Miami last time out. So not really sure what they're doing there. I think that the problem is with Ferreira and Ramiro, who both started. I know that, or Kaique, who I think he is like a really good 6'8" hybrid, but there is no there's not like a Joaquin Pereira there who can do both on both ends of the field. I don't know if that midfield is exactly developed to be able to be as creative as they needed it to be. And a lot of the creativity in this lineup fell on Lucho Acosta. And I think San Diego were able to just limit his chances, limit his time on the ball. And it led to a lot of pot shots from outside the box, a lot of crosses into the box. Logan Farrington was pretty non-existent, and that's painful to say as someone who loves the name Logan Farrington in this league.
Logan Hot Dog Farrington. That's his nickname.
That's his nickname. I didn't know that his nickname was Hot Dog. That just
That's
that
another.
ra-
That's another addition to the names, man.
that's beautiful. But yeah, I think the problem is the lack of creativity, and for some reason, Anderson Julio out there playing left wing back.
That's hot dog shit. But
Nice.
Hey.
speaking of hot dog shit, New York Red Bulls, right? Goes to Miami and they give Miami a bounce back game. But more importantly, what I wanted to note and what a lot of Red Bull supporters have noted is this is the second year in a row that Red Bulls have had Miami away during the Miami Grand Prix. And as we all know, the New York Red Bulls have a F1 car. They are in F1 as well. I don't know how that works. I have not seen Drive to Survive either, so I don't know shit about F1. But 2 years in a row that Mr. Sandro Schwartz and the New York Red Bull organization can just go out there and have a grand old time. Jeremy, what did you make of New York Red Bulls here? And are we ready to call Eric Choupo-Moting the least ambitious striker acquisition in the league now? Like, are we officially at that point?
That would assume that, first of all, the Red Bulls are creating enough chances to satisfy him, which I don't think they are. And also the fact that they're still stuck between wanting to like have the ball and like be transition monsters. I do not know. Like, it's really funny because if you introduce someone to this league at the start of this year, you did not tell them who made MLS Cup in either conference. Like, who were the two teams that played each other for MLS Cup? They would not in a million years guess New York Red Bulls and the LA Galaxy. And I think that's a testament, first of all, to just parity, which is the one thing MLS has over every soccer league in this world. But also just due to the fact that the Red Bulls and the Galaxy are just dumbfounding levels of dog shit. So let's begin with Mohamed Sofo, who should probably start every single game from here on out, right?
So much fun. Much fun.
Yeah, I'm just going to be honest with him. He's fun to watch. And he did get credited for the goal that got scored because there was a huge tiff on MLS 360 about I think it was Choupo-Moting arriving at the back post to like knock it in, and because New York scored their only goal from a looping header from Sofo, and Choupo-Moting getting on the back post and knocking it in. Somehow they said that was Choupo-Moting, like bad Choupo-Moting for doing that. Like, no, you want to make sure the ball goes in the net. That ball's like hanging up there for an eternity. Like, if you think you can get there and put it in, like put it in. Like, come on, man. Like, oh yeah. Also, I'll get to that once we get to the Timbers. But their Apple should be down one less member of their panel heading into next week. Otherwise, one of them cannot keep their word, and I hate that. But aside from that. We'll get to that when we get to Portland. When we get to Portland. I'm teasing it now, but they should be down one less, I guess, analyst / host or whatever her role is. Damn it, I gave it away. But either way, Wiki Carmona, Wiki, he's got to start too. Like the other point is like, who even are the most dangerous wide attackers on this Red Bulls team? Like, until they get Lewis Morgan back, Harper was injured for this one, and Goma's hurt again. Like, there isn't really anything inspiring about the attack. Like, Forsberg last year, like, yeah, they were so much better when he played, but like, this isn't 2024 anymore. He's pretty bad. Not to mention his family definitely still hasn't found him yet. So I feel like that's another red flag for them. Red flag, like, I guess in racing. I don't know. I don't watch F1 either, Juanners. I don't want you to feel left out there. But yeah, at this point, I'm also just kind of begging for Tim Parker to get into this team because they just need a veteran backline leader. Like, I know it's Miami. I know this was going to be a get right game no matter what. But some of these goals that they gave up were just like comical. in terms of how bad their positioning was. I think of the first one they gave up to Fafa Picault, where he just has a free header. Like, you're going to let Fafa Picault have a free header in this league with a 0-0 game while you're playing against a team that just got whooped on this field like 3 days ago? Oh, my God. Yeah, the Red Bulls, they're also on my do not watch list. I don't want to see any more of them. I don't want to hear anything about them. That they're just, they're so uninspired. They're so boring. I hate them. I hate this Red Bulls team so much.
Incoming assignment this weekend. You'll get your wish.
That's right. Well, first of all, actually, let me see who they play next. Who is the next on their schedule?
And by wish, I mean I will make sure you get to watch the Red Bulls again.
Do you know they're playing this weekend, Juanners?
New York City?
They're hosting the Galaxy.
Oh, hell yeah. MLS Cup rematch.
That needs to be an outside the box game. Fuck that.
That's an outside the box game if I've ever heard one. And that's after they travel to the Box State.
Yes, sir.
To play the Colorado Springs Switchbacks in Open Cup, which, by the way, like, there is an Open Cup match week coming up. Why aren't there more games like that? Why is it that the West Coast teams always get stuck playing the other West Coast teams, and the Red Bulls are having a grand voyage to Colorado Springs? Like, Emil Forsberg isn't going to get impressed by, like, seeing Pikes Peak, but, like, oh my God, John Tolkien, he's gone. He would have, like, flipped his shit at seeing such a big mountain, being like, that can't happen. This place is flat. So, man, I don't know, man. This Red Bulls team, they are banter. They might even be a level below Banter Club. They're so uninspiring. They're so boring. Oh.
Is Maxime Choupo-Moting being signed as a DP? Does that go down as one of the worst signings in MLS history?
It's up there.
I don't know if it's one of the worst signings of this year.
This year for sure, but there's plenty of season left, I want to say.
Yeah. Also, like, I don't even think he's one of the worst signings, like, this year. I think just in terms of ambition, it's a terrible signing. But, like, would you say that Uzuni potentially could be a worse signing than him? Because at least Choupo-Moting has, like, a couple goals.
Guys, imagine
They did waste.
we could put together from bad DP attacker signings this year alone.
Oh,
well,
yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm glad you brought it up because a little programming note for next week. Next week's a double game week, and I figured next week would be a good idea to do a check-in show. So next week's show, I think we should just include that as who has been our best newcomers, our worst newcomers, and I think everyone should be able to bring somebody to the table, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'd be the best way to go about it, because, I mean, I'm thinking about it now. Who would you rather have to lead your line, Uzuni or Choupo-Moting? And outside of oh well, Uzuni's younger, I can build around him. It's like, no, right now, if you could have one of these strikers on your team, who would it be?
The ghost of Patrick Klimala.
What about you, Josh?
Speaking of bad striker signings, I want Campagna. That's who I'm taking in that duo.
Campagna? Josh?
Hey, he scored this weekend.
Because of all the fun Albanian gifs you can find on gift search.
Yeah, Uzuni, because then you can do Dua Lipa edits, I think, right?
Oh yeah.
That'd be the way to do it.
That man has very fierce eyebrows too, and if you have fierce eyebrows, I expect you to score at least 10 goals.
I'm just thinking through it now. We can make an all-time just bad transfer team just from this past year alone. Good call. We should do that. That's hilarious.
Let's talk about Colorado here. They are next up after New York Red Bulls. Very funny there, given the Armas connection. But no Armas for this one. He was at the Hall of Fame, and Kroenke Sports Entertainment couldn't bother to get him a private jet out or any arrangement, as his chartered flight had maintenance issues. And would Colorado have been better with a coach here? Maybe. But what remains true is they still keep conceding before the halves. And instead of conceding 1 before the half. They scored 2 in stoppage time at first half. A lot more of that will be broken down on Burgundy Banter. If you want me at my most heated, I did do a post-match live stream with Leo Come On You Spurs, his Twitter account, if you're familiar with his content in the Rapid space. Some more of my more pissed off thoughts are there, but we're going to break it down on Burgundy Banter. We got Judgmental Jim, joining us then to talk about him and some other stuff as a little preview there. But let's move on because we'll save the Colorado stuff for the Colorado pod. Seattle, who hosted St. Louis City. I put this one to Daniel because I felt like it would be torture to give Jeremey LA and Houston and then Seattle and St. Louis. So I figured we'll go to Daniel here for Seattle. What'd you make of Seattle's performance here, Daniel? And then we'll go to Jeremey because I know he's got some thoughts about Seattle as well.
So I think Seattle are doing that thing again where they start the season a little bit wobbly, get everybody questioning them, which we did for weeks, and then suddenly flip the switch. After a shaky start, they've now gone unbeaten in 4 straight, climbing back into playoff contention. Their last outing was against St. Louis City. It was an absolute demolition. They won 4-1 at Lumen Field. St. Louis scored first, but Seattle responded immediately with a penalty of their own from Rusnak. From there, it was all Sounders. Obed Vargas gave them the lead in the 61st minute. Danny Musovski added another in the 81st, and Nuhu capped it off in stoppage time. The stats were pure dominance. Seattle outshot St. Louis 31-7, 9 shots on target to St. Louis's 4, and they've also earned 4 corner kicks. Like, they just dominated on every facet. A special shout out to Stephen Fry. He made his 400th appearance for the club in all competitions, becoming one of only 7 players in MLS history to reach that milestone. With this win, Sounders are now 4-3-4 and looks like they're marching towards a playoff spot, much to Jeremy's chagrin. My favorite part about Seattle this year is they spent all this money on new attacking players, and their best players are still Albert Rusnak, Christian Roldan, and Obed Vargas. And Danny Musovski is their leading scorer.
But before Jeremey interjects here, one thing I wanted to mention about Seattle, and this is one of those players that, like, if you're kind of conscious of them, you've been kind of seeing the rise a little bit. Ozaze De Rosario, Dwayne De Rosario's son, made his MLS debut. But Ozaze has been putting in work in the Canadian Premier League, and to kind of see that pipeline is there as well, right? For Ozaze, who is now in MLS. I want to see more of this kid, not only just because he's MLS royalty and the fact that his dad was probably one of the best players in MLS history. I like seeing the generational, the generational players there, the 2nd gen, 3rd gen, whatever it is, because I think it keeps the history of the league very relevant. It keeps those kind of legends of the game within kind of a reach, if that makes sense, like a good little subtle nod and reminder. And we just kind of need more of these kind of I guess Nepo soccer stars, but I don't want to call him that because he really grinded a lot in the Canadian Premier League, and he showed a lot of class there. And so I'm hyped for Ozaze De Rosario. Over to you, Jeremey. What did you make of the Seattle performance? Probably a lot more positive than Daniel, right? You sure love this team.
Oh, well, first, actually, I'm very happy you mentioned De Rosario because he's the top scorer in Next Pro right now. And we're about to see this week the first ever competitive match between a Next Pro team and an MLS team in Open Cup. It is the Tacoma Defiance hosting the Portland Timbers. I'm terrified of this game. And De Rosario should be starting because Tacoma has scored the most goals in Next Pro this year out of all the teams. And they have 2 games in hand somehow, and they're on top of the West. I don't usually talk about Next Pro that much, but that felt like an interesting little bit. Okay, on to this game. This is a game the Seattle Sounders should win. Ideally, I'd like it if they missed the playoffs, but like I know they're not going to miss the playoffs. I picked them third in the West, like for Christ's sake. I picked them above the wagon of San Jose, like the 4-1 victory, San Jose Earthquakes this weekend, and they beat those San Jose Earthquakes, by the way, beat a better team than the Seattle Sounders did. But for once, the Sounders are actually like winning games at home, which is something they never do. Especially this early in the season. Over their past 2 home games against Nashville and St. Louis, they've outscored their opponents 7-1, with that one being a penalty. Now on to that might sound like I'm being a little bit too happy about this team. I'm really not, because here comes the next part. This 4-game unbeaten streak that Daniel mentioned at Dallas, who just got thumped by San Diego, who the Sounders also got thumped by. That was their last loss. About a month ago. They won 1-0 in Dallas. They beat Nashville 3-0. Nashville is terrible away from home, and somehow Atlanta just did not realize that. They drew the Rapids and probably should have lost to the Rapids last week. Actually, they definitely should have lost to the Rapids. And then they beat a St. Louis City team that is just awful. Here's how their schedule looks. They're about to play a 3-match week. All 3 of these games are road games. They have to go to Houston. They have to go to LAFC midweek, which is really interesting. I don't know why the league would make that a midweek game, considering like that's such a big rivalry and all. Shut up. And then they finish the week by going to Portland, which is rivalry week, by the way, or whatever. Rivalry day, because there's 3 matches in this week. Unless they're counting that LAFC game as rivalry week, which is nonsense because the Timbers are going to RSL. That's not a rivalry. Okay. Here's the other thing about this game. So Seattle, they went back to the 4-2-3-1 because Jesus Ferreira was out. And Jesus Ferreira evidently is the man that makes the system this year. If he's out, they're going to play the 4-2-3-1. And since they've been playing the 4-2-3-1 for like forever, they're always going to look good in it. And what they always do is they just generate XG by getting the ball out wide, dribbling it into the end line, and cutting it back for a player to shoot. Usually that was Raul Ruiz-Diaz. He's not doing that anymore. Musovski's now doing it, though. That's interesting. They finally found a backup striker. But this game is really notable because of Ryan Kent. He came off the bench. He got 2 assists. He's their best wide player. I don't know how long it is until he actually starts a game for them. I don't know what happens when Ferreira comes back. Does Schmetzer continue to be stubborn and try and run the system they've been working on all offseason? So I think the only thing that's really holding them back is just Schmetzer's own stubbornness, which is something that usually holds them back because, as I've said before and I've written about, the man is the perfect Seattle Sounders manager because he is entirely possessed by the spirit of the ocean. The spirit of the ocean, by the way, which is the most stubborn entity on Earth, because all it does day after day is just crash over and over and over again against the various coastlines of every single continent, slowly eroding them. He's stubborn, just like the ocean. The ocean never stops beating against the shores, and Brian Schmetzer never stops relying on Old Reliable, which changes every week. Every single time the Sounders lineup drops, I'm like, oh, there goes Schmetzer with Old Reliable again. Could be an entirely different formation, like heavily rotated. It doesn't matter. It's still Old Reliable because that's Brian Schmetzer. But yes, this was a game they should have won, and they did. Good for them.
Hopefully one day De Rosario is Old Reliable. He can just come on and be good for a goal a game or something. But let's head
my nightmare is him turning into like their like budget Ruiz-Diaz, because that's what I see from him in Next Pro. He could be that guy, and I'm so pissed that they have the whole like nepotism angle to go along with like the academy angle on this one. No one needs to stop them. They need to get in the way. By the way, Stephen Fry, former Toronto player. You know, Toronto just let Seattle have him, just like the same way they let him have Paul Rothrock.
That's on you. That's on your club.
Yeah, they keep letting Seattle have things, and I'm tired of this. Like, Seattle doesn't need to have anything. Don't give them things.
In times of turmoil, look inward. That's all I will say. Let's head over to New England. They went on the road and put up a very, very good performance against Toronto. This is the first time I will hand the flowers to New England Revolution because they played like they are finally fully comfortable. There's plenty of teams that are kind of like, are we this good? Are we that good enough to just fucking, transition and score? New England were like, yeah, you know what? We are that good. One guy I want to highlight before we go to Daniel, and last year I said this, Al Hassan Yusuf is going to be a problem. And I said this last year, and it's this year now, and guess what, guys? Yusuf is a problem. I think he's one of my favorite newcomers from last year because he joined in the summer window last year, and I said, it's not working right now on this trash New England team, but Yusuf, man, give him some time, and he's gonna light up the league. Daniel, what did you make of this one? You mentioned the Carles Gill banger. I was quite thrilled at that goal as well. That one had me out of my seat. What'd you make of New England here on the road against Toronto?
I'm actually really happy you brought up Yusuf because I was going to bring him up at the end of this too. He has been awesome all year, and he plays really, really well with Carlos Gill. And yeah, just excited for him. Anyway, something that I had not really seen. I'm happy that you're saying that you're going to give them your flowers finally because it makes me feel a lot better about Charlotte losing them. But no, they've been really, really good these last couple of weeks. And it's kind of been quietly kept. Like, I don't think I've seen anyone talk about it other than us. They're on a heater right now. They rolled in Toronto this past weekend and just handled business. The final score was 2-0. It was clinical. It was clean. Exactly the kind of win you kind of just chalk up to your team starting to hum. First up, Carlos Gill, a.k.a. the human cheat code. We've already talked about this goal. Hits an absolute piss missile off a volley. Something that only special players do. There's the saying like big time players make big time plays. It was one of the best goals I've seen all year, legitimately. Then about 20 minutes later, Leo Campagna gets his second goal of the season. He's actually been looking real nice lately. The strike partnership between him and Ganago is not a bad one, honestly. It's kind of enjoyable to watch, which was not what I was kind of thinking it was going to be throughout the first 3 to 4 games of the season. They've really put it together. Let's talk about the defense real quick because holy hell, 4 straight clean sheets. That's 385 minutes without conceding a single goal. Shout out to the back line and the big man in goal. They've locked in. No drama, no mistakes, just shutting things down. Got to give props to Caleb Porter too. He rolled in with the same starting 11 3 times in a row, and you can see the chemistry starting to cook. It's not flashy soccer, but it's effective as hell. Eli Feingold and Peyton Miller on the wings. These guys are both really, really good as well. They have been these last couple games. What's this all mean? The Revs have clawed their way up to 7th place in the East, knocking right on that playoff door. And let's be honest, no one wants to see New England on a one-off playoff game because right now they look like they can compete with just about anybody on their day. They got Orlando City SC next. Kind of feels like a game they can just keep on cooking, but I think it's one of those heat check games.
Yeah, one thing I want to note there is Thomas Chankalai is looking less and less like the player that, I mean, it could be he's also coming back from that injury, but him and Luca Langoni, like, they are players that are probably better as wingers in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, and that's not going to be the case here for New England if they want to keep playing out of the 5-3-2. But what I will say is it's time for Chankalai and Langoni, one of them, to move on, I think, and find either greener pasture within the league because I think you have to renew Ganago. He's on a loan, and so I think if you extend the loan or either bring him in, it kind of lessens one of Chankalai or Langoni's real minutes there, and of the two, maybe Langoni goes. But I'm glad you brought up the defense because it's a far cry from Xavier Arriaga last year just fucking screaming and if you watched New England at all, they were hotheads, and clearly they are enjoying this turnaround, and we'll see how long it lasts. I'm still skeptical, but I can't be when you have Yusuf in there, right?
We talked about it on I think it was like week 3, we were talking about New England, and we said, hey, we don't know what they're going to be offensively, but at least like they're scrappy as hell, and their defense looks like they can limit goals. And now it seems like their offense has figured it out, and Carlos Gil is in some of the hottest form of his career.
Absolutely. Let's head over to Orlando. I had this one to cover real quick. Last week, Edward Atuesta came back in, and Orlando found their scoring boots. And despite being a man up, you can't do it without Atuesta, who is like. And here's the thing, Cesar Araujo was in this too. So, and I was kind of the opinion either one of Cesar Araujo or Edward Atuesta could really like elevate the attacking game, but it really is just Atuesta. And when Orlando can't get it going, when they're fine to just kind of negative ball their way through a game, it makes for just a tough watch. In this one, like I said, we were clearly watching Chicago as the protagonist, and there's a lot to love about Chicago's game, even if they were just a bit unlucky. But Orlando without Atuesta is a do not watch. Don't watch this team, because if you want to see this team without Atuesta, it's them not scoring goals. It's that 4-game streak without scoring goals. It's like this team is Atuesta injury away from being honestly like maybe not St. Louis coded, but very heavily St. Louis coded. Does anyone have any thoughts here on Orlando, or are we safe to move on to Jeremy with LAFC?
I would move on because you said all that needs to be said. Sometimes there isn't that much to be said about a team.
They're missing Atuesta.
They were and also, by the way, I'm going to go against what I just said, but they were lucky. They were lucky to only draw this game despite being a man up for more than 45 minutes. That's insane.
One team that wasn't was LAFC. They beat Houston. We can kind of talk more about LAFC now. A few weeks ago on this podcast, I said Nathan Ordaz is that dude. And sure enough, he kind of helped prove it here. But tell us, what are you seeing out of LAFC? I was farming through some of the clips of last week's episode, and a lot of what you said was so long as this team has Denny Bouanga, they're just going to Denny Bouanga their way into games. And, looking at some of the advanced stats here, Denny Bouanga's is just insane this match. He had a crazy one on the ball. But what'd you make of LAFC Houston here? LAFC kind of in that same boat as Seattle, kind of rebounding after some CCC fixture congestion. Tell us about LAFC.
So I'm gonna kick this one off with a stat. This was their first clean sheet since April 2nd, when they held Miami scoreless in the first leg of CCC. This was their first MLS clean sheet since March 22nd against when they visited SKC before Vermes got fired. Prior to that, they picked up 2 clean sheets in their first 2 MLS games. 4 if you include two CONCACAF games in that stretch. Since then, that defense has been more than unreliable. I think this was their get-right game for the defense, where their offense had their get-right game against Portland. Well, actually, no, I'd say it was against San Jose. That was their get-right game. But this was the get-right game for their defense, and it came against an opponent that really just isn't good attacking-wise. But, hey, sometimes, like, if the opportunity presents itself, like, yeah, you can only beat the team in front of you. I thought it was very interesting that their center back pairing was Aaron Long and Segura for this one, because Marlon's been starting the past couple for them. And when Marlon was starting, the goals were being leaking. So I think this is I think they've finally figured out the first choice center back partnership. That's always good. They've also figured out their first choice midfield. The problem is there isn't a lot behind that midfield. The only other midfielder that they have on their roster is Amaya, who was able to get in, but like Are you really going to think that Frankie Amaya is going to be such a huge asset to this team this year? Like, no, they still need another midfielder if they want to be the LAFC that they desperately want to be, that they've said they're going to be. But yeah, this was a routine 2-0 win. Ordaz, by the way, he's the starting striker. I don't make the rules. He does. And the player coming off the bench behind him will be Jeremey Abobasi. So, you know what they can do with the open DP slot that they can open by like getting rid of Olivier Giroud this summer? They can add a creative midfielder. And then they might actually be the best team in the West.
Yeah, fuck you, Oliver. I hate that dude.
Yeah.
Especially after I
And
kind
also,
of... Tell me.
Oh yeah. The other point that I'm going to make about LAFC is there's game of the year potential next week. They travel to Vancouver for Sunday night soccer.
Ooh.
This is probably going to be one of the best games of the year. Not what Columbus Miami was hyped up to be, but this might actually be one of the best games of the year. Given the all the nonsense Vancouver has had to suffer at the hands of LAFC over the past couple of years. So this is a huge game for LAFC coming up to actually prove like, yeah, we are what we are, but I still think they're going to lose it because they're missing a midfield creator, which is just more incentive to ship Giroud back to France or Italy or somewhere, or maybe even into retirement. He's 38 already. You don't have to keep it going. Like, just the party is over, buddy. You don't need to keep dancing.
This game of the year potential will be the unstoppable object of star-studded lineups and crazy soccer versus the immovable force of Sunday night soccer and not having good games on. So I'm excited to see.
I do want to say you guys are making my my assignments easier because now we have a MLS Cup rematch to talk about next week, and this top of the West. I guess not top of the West, but just a marquee Western Conference matchup. So some good matches for next week, y'all. Should be a good one. Let's talk about Nashville going over to Joss. They went over to ATL, and I thought they were the far better team here. They probably should have come away with a win here. What'd you make of Nashville on the road to ATL?
I don't want to. I hate throwing around these things. That's like, this is the best so and so position in the league right now. But Andy Nahar, he has been outstanding for Nashville this year. And again, I thought that he was really, 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 really good in Atlanta. And I think he should have had an assist. He played this little through ball into, I think it was Mukhtar, and I think MVP level Mukhtar probably finishes it. But yeah, that is kind of how I'm defining Nashville so far, is that they are in a system, a BJ Callahan system, and it might be a Greg Berhalter system too, just based on things. I don't know. But they're in a system where they might be taking these like average players, these Nahars, these Lovitzes, and playing to their strengths so that they really shine. In this game against Atlanta, they've deployed like a narrow 4-4-2 formation. And, starting out, I thought that might get dicey because Atlanta's wingers, Miguel Almiron or Saba Lobjanidze, sometimes Moranchuk would shift out there. They can beat their man, and especially because it's such a narrow formation, you'd be giving them a lot of time and space to work with the ball. But after, like I said, when I covered Atlanta, after the 20th minute, it was really all Nashville. And what I like the most about this Nashville team is that, unlike Minnesota, there are many different ways where Nashville can attack and build an attack. They can hit you on transition, which is kind of what they used to do. They can bunker down, hit you on transition like they used to do, or they can play beautiful possession soccer and work their way up the field slowly, death by 1,000 cuts. They can get you with set pieces like they did in this game with Daniel Lovitz's equalizer. This Nashville team is just, from top to bottom, it is the prime example of the sum of their parts. And I really want to shout out Eddie Tagseth. I know he's kind of been a favorite of this podcast so far, but man, he had I think he
he stopped a counterattack from Atlanta in like the 92nd minute,
Yeah.
and set Nashville right on attack again. It led to a surge shot, which is pretty tame, right at Guzan. But you can just look at the difference in body language between Nashville and Atlanta in that moment. Nashville were pressing high still, winning the ball back high up the field. When Atlanta lost it, it was just like they were Atlas holding the world on their shoulders, and they looked disorganized, they looked confused, they didn't know who to cover. And honestly, if the game were to go just another 10 minutes, I think Nashville probably sneak a win out of here. Or not even sneak a win. They probably grab a deserved win out of here. So the energy at Nashville is so vastly different than the energy in Atlanta. And I really, really like so many of the players and how BJ Callahan's system makes them as good as they've been.
Yeah, one thing I am kind of noticing, Ahmed Kassem has been dropped in favor of Jacob Schaffelberg. Now, Schaffelberg is going to go out there and run and just get on all the through balls, get on all the over-the-top through balls there as well. But Kassem, I thought, I didn't think he was too bad. And he's not even the first name off the bench anymore. That's Jonathan Perez, who also, was very, very active in that match. And I guarantee you, Jonathan Perez is someone that the LA Galaxy is desperately missing right now. Just some guy that can create something out of nothing. I think he and Schaffelberg, that's a good interchange there. But then Kassem, man, on the outside looking in a little bit, they've got some good winger core out there. Must be nice to have a strong winger core. I can only imagine. Anything else on Nashville here that you're seeing? Because I agree with it. I think they are probably fundamentally one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, I also want to touch on that Kassem point, and it's also because Alex Moyle has become undroppable too, which I
didn't think those words would ever be said.
Yeah, it's insane. But also, when Kassem spent a couple games earlier this year just aura farming, I think Callahan realized I don't need this aura farmer in my in this team right now. I want people who are going to work. And Schaffelberg's he's a lunch pail guy. He's going to work. And
so too is Moyle.
So too is Moyle. It's weird because their wingers are water carriers in a way, kind of the same way Charlotte's midfield operates, except his water carriers are on the wings, and then there's just Tag Seth and Yazbek, and sometimes Brugman if Brugman is starting, just doing all the midfield work. But it's such an interesting system that Nashville have. And also, by the way, this is the fourth straight game that Walker Zimmerman has missed. Nashville's record in those games, they're 2-1-1. I'm not counting the Charlotte game because he had to go off with the injury in that game, and it's always tough no matter what to adjust to a center back leaving in the middle of a game. So I'm not counting the Charlotte game in that. But they're 2-1-1 since. The only non-wins actually have been on the road. Both the wins have been at home. They have 3 upcoming home league games during this upcoming 3-match week. They will host Charlotte. They will host the Red Bulls. They will host DC. That's a 9-point week, probably. I know Daniel's not going to like to hear that, but I see that as a 9-point week right now. And that's just a testament to, even if Zimmerman doesn't come back, this is a Nashville team that we've never seen in MLS before. We've seen just boring, dreadful, this is what happens when you use a DP slot on a center back type of thing, and none of your DP strikers work out. Looking at you, Ake Loba and Jean Der Cadiz. But this is fun. Nashville are actually giving their fans something to enjoy, and I kind of have to hand it to them on that one. Yep, they're really fun, and they probably should have won this game.
Let's head over back to Joss for this one because I also had him here for the San Diego matchup. San Diego, as we mentioned, blasted FC Dallas, but gonna go to Joss just to kind of see how they did so, man. What can you tell us about San Diego here? Kind of a very, very this is what you want in a bounce back game. after 3 losses, some deserved, some undeserved. But 5-0 at home has got to just feel so good. What do you think of this one, Joss? Seeing as though a 1-0 without any shots is pretty good, but something about a 5-0, man. Something about a 5-0. It's just aesthetically so pleasing. What'd you make of this one?
Yeah, I got the best of both worlds this weekend, honestly. A 5-0. And back to what I said earlier about the Columbus Crew's 4th goal against Charlotte. Dominant performances often lead to beautiful goals. And no more so was that, like, that wasn't more prevalent than in this game. There was Chucky Lozano's 2nd goal. If you guys watch it back, it was a they sliced through Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think they capitalized upon Dallas's lack of communication, maybe lack of experience in this formation that they were playing. And really high shout out. I think it was to Tverskov. Help me out. Tverskov. Sorry about yeah. He had Tarantula.
Jeppe.
He has
Jeppe.
He had the pass out from defense that basically split all of Dallas apart, and then it was Anders Dreyer running at the defense. Lozano makes a cutting run, rounds Martin Paz and slots it home. To me, like, just gorgeous play, dominant performance, dominant, beautiful goal. This is my first time watching San Diego since in a long time. So, and I know they were on a bit of a cold streak, but this is, like you're saying, a bounce back game for them. Anders Dreyer, MVP shouts, anybody? What do we think?
I don't know. That's kind of like the Mikey Veras Coach of the Year shouts for me. It's like, well, let's keep seeing. I don't know if that's. I don't know, because there was a moment where he had like a dry spell of like no goal contributions.
Right, fair. I just think, and maybe it was because he was up against a new 3-back system and Julio's a left wing back, but he would be up against Julio directly, but he was fantastic in this game. And I mean, when he's not firing, San Diego kind of aren't firing either. A lot of people were thinking, Chucky going to be that guy. Going to be that guy for them. But for me, so far in San Diego's short history, it has been Anders Dreyer. And I really, really liked his goal, which again was just beautiful build up. They win the ball back about the halfway line. Lozano plays it, does some interplay with the striker, and then Anders Dreyer gets played in for a curling finish, and it's beautiful. Lozano got 2 goals. The first one being a pen that Martin Paz maybe could feel unlucky that he didn't save. Jeremy, I wanted to talk to you on this because who is San Diego's center back partnership?
Patty McNair and Christopher McVeigh.
And yeah, Patty McNair is obviously, Brexit center back, some would say, I think. And I just want to say enough with giving the DP attackers penalties. Some of the best penalties I've ever seen have come from center backs that just leather it. Harry Maguire in the Euro final, Craig Dawson when he was playing for West Ham. Give it to Patty McNair. I think that he might leather it right at a goalkeeper, but because it's so powerful, it goes right through the hands. I want to see more of that instead of these I'm going to sneak it past as the keeper dives the wrong way, or I'm going to do my little dance before I score. No, leather it. And Patty McNair there is no better center back, I think. I've never seen him take a penalty in my life, but I just feel like he will be the type to just leather it. And that's what I want to see. Also, I don't know about you guys, but San Diego's 4th goal, I'm not sure it crossed the line. I'll be honest.
I don't think it crossed the line either. Yeah. I do not think it crossed the line.
And we don't have goal line technology, do we?
No. Do you think PRO would be able to handle having goal line technology?
That's a good. That's no. I mean, it's just crazy that we have VAR but not goal line technology, because goal line technology was around way before VAR was ever introduced.
Goal line technology also can fail, and because it fails, Aston Villa gets into the Champions League.
That's
So
true. That's true.
that's
But
a butterfly effect, though. It
yeah.
is a butterfly effect.
Well,
I'm pissed about it.
VAR checks all goals, but do they not check if it was even a goal?
I imagine they were trying to check this one, but based on all the angles that I saw, I couldn't see anything that
No.
definitively told me across the line. Even from this net cam is sponsored by T-Mobile. Even from that did not give me anything. I was just like, it just looks like it hit the ground like right on the line. Like even if you slow it down, I can't definitively say, yeah, that's across the line. Ugh.
Yeah. And I was rewatching the highlights from this game. They showed one really fast highlight, and I'm like, okay, they definitely edited out everything. But yeah, San Diego are good. I mean, they're back to an extent. I'm willing to reserve judgment just until they play a team that's maybe not playing a striker at left back. But 5-0 is 5-0 regardless.
Yeah, man. Like I said, one of the most aesthetically pleasing scorelines in the game of soccer. Let's move on here to Jeremy's Portland Timbers, who after a big hype week last week, I know all of us were very high on the Timbers, and let it be known that I am still very high on the Timbers. They kind of laid an egg here on the road. It kind of happens, especially after switching out one of your better goalkeepers in Pantemis for Crepo, but I'll let Jeremy kind of walk us through here on the result here and kind of where it kind of went wrong for Portland. I don't know how long you want to stay on this one.
So okay, I'm going to say two things. This was the most complete San Jose has looked, and this is by far what they should have been playing instead of playing the two-striker thing with Martinez. I've already said that, though. The other part of this is that coming into this game, Timbers were on a 7-game unbeaten streak. That streak was going to end regardless. It doesn't shock me that it ended in this fashion to the San Jose team. So I'm just going to say that next weekend's game in Portland against Sporting Kansas City is their chance for a get-back game, because sometimes this just happens. This happens over the course of an MLS season all the time. So it doesn't really worry me, just particularly considering some of the bigger culprits in this game were backup players, specifically Crepo, who could have saved at least 2 of San Jose's 4 goals. Honestly, I want to use this space right now to talk about Crepo in particular, because I'm wondering, is this still a man who's dealing with that leg break, who hasn't fully recovered from the leg break and all the stuff that he was doing before the leg break, or was he never that good to begin with? Because I've gone back in FBref's available data, and my favorite goalkeeper stat to look at, the one that I say is the benchmark for whether or not you're a good goalkeeper, is post-shot expected goal differential. I think in only one of, since assuming the starting job at Vancouver in, 2020 or 2019, I think he's only posted a positive number in that category over one season out of 5. Now, I'm just, this is all from memory. I don't have the data up in front of me right now. But last year, he was one of the worst goalkeepers in the league per that metric, which is, once again, just raw shot stopping. How good are you at keeping the ball out of the net, and are you saving the shots that you're supposed to save? But yeah, I want to open this up to everyone and their thoughts just on Maxime Crepo as a goalkeeper, because everyone here at least watched last year's Copa America. They've watched LAFC in 2022. They understand how good this guy can be on the national stage and in just big games. So I just want to hear what everyone's thoughts on Maxime Crepo have been, because I'm wondering, have I just completely misunderstood the type of player that he is, or is this a guy that just has really good PR?
I'll let Joss or Daniel take the reins on that one. What are you guys feeling on that one?
I mean, stats are stats, right? And as much as it's hard to say, it feels unfair to judge a player just based off of like one statistic specifically. I know that Jeremy, you're taking in a conglomerate, but it when it comes down to how like the difference between Pantemis and Crepeau this season, and I mean Crepeau, maybe he's just writing the PR of like, hey, Canada produced a number one that doesn't wear sweatpants. Maybe he is the next person. I think that there is a level of PR there that otherwise it would be overlooked if he was playing for like a different nation or maybe for a different team. But I mean, I was surprised when I found out that Pantemis didn't start this game, and yeah, I mean, that's for me. It feels just like, damn, the drop off is crazy between the two, because Crepeau has played at the Whitecaps and LAFC. I feel like at the Whitecaps specifically, it was kind of like because that was when the Whitecaps were not that good. He was the best of a bad bunch, but now putting him at a level where maybe he's the worst of a good bunch, or putting him at a level where he is on par with many of the players, and that makes his performances drop off. I don't know. Maybe he just got PTSD from the leg break. I don't know, but just based on the stats that you read off, again, I'm not very well versed on Crepeau's XG post shot, but for me, it sounds like he just hasn't been as good as we thought he was.
Daniel, any thoughts on Crepeau?
Just washed. I don't really know what happened because you were right. He was very good when he was with Vancouver. He's just not a very good player anymore.
See, my thing with Crepeau is I always felt he was more of a shithouse goalie, and that is where his best play came from, when he can just, kind of, I don't know, like he's a very like antagonizing goalkeeper. I don't know if you guys have ever been behind him, but he's one of those keepers that will egg on the away fans and not talk back, but he will definitely like he will snark back in some way. You know what I mean? I remember after like 0-0 against Vancouver, he turned around to the section 117 and he fucking did the gesture where you hold your like dick out, you know what I mean? And he was fucking letting us have it, and rain of booze came down, people threw shit, got into some trouble. Not me, but like the SG, that some shit always happens when people throw shit. But I mean, I always thought that was a superpower, shithouse goalkeeper, and eventually that kind of runs out. I'll have to look back at his highlights just to see, like, is there a new Crepeau that we're not seeing here? Either way, I still think he's a player that could be, like, right now, where he would be awesome? DC United. Like, he would.
I agree with that.
He would instantly elevate DC United. It gets him away from the Western Conference for a bit, gets him into a new environment over in the East, some new maybe strikers to learn about. But beyond that, I think it is time to move on from him over at the Timbers, and I still think he's MLS quality at the very least. I don't think anyone's like let me ask you, Joss, and then we'll move on. Would you rather have Pulskamp, and I know he came off a good performance, would you rather have Pulskamp or Crepeau in goal for SKC right now?
As soon as you said shithouse goalkeeper, I thought of Tim Melia.
Well, there you go.
What's up?
Well, there you go.
Yeah, right. Like Tim Melia was very good for a long time. His drop off was noticeable. I'll say that. But we've just gotten past Tim Melia. We're in a new phase where we're not playing Tim Melia. That I would stick with Pulskamp just because this is coming from a very specific point of view, obviously. But I've had my time with like shorter shithouse goalkeepers. I'm not saying that him and Crepeau are like the exact same or everything, but like it's refreshing to not have that. And I think shot stopping wise, Pulskamp has just been better than Melia because Pulskamp is taller. He's a taller player.
and he's also got a better distribution on him. So I'm taking Pulskamp right now. I've been on the Pulskamp train for a little bit too. I'm not just saying that because he's been our number one this year. Ask my friends because I was annoying about it. I've been on the Pulskamp train for a little bit, but I'm taking Pulskamp right now. And what you said about DC, I think perfectly encapsulates his time at Vancouver. Send him to the place where he will be one of the better players, and just in terms of the aura and his experiences. Send him to a place where he will be one of the better players, and I think that he will shine.
Let's head over to Miami. Let's talk Miami's bounce back game with the Red Bulls. Very, very routine Miami win. They were kind of going against the team in New York Red Bulls that didn't really care, didn't look like. But I had Jeremy on this one. We'll go to you for Inter Miami. They are coming off that CCC loss, which is probably more telling than this one. If you want to talk about that one, you're more than welcome to. I know we got Vancouver on the docket too, so we'll have plenty to say about them when we go to Daniel. But what are we making of Miami here? 4-1 win over Red Bulls.
I'm only talking about this Red Bull game because that is talking about that CCC game would be stealing the moment from Vancouver, who thoroughly ran them over. But yeah, it's so boring talking about Miami, honestly. Like, this was a game, yeah, of course they won 4-1. Like, they should have won this 4-1. It's just like, it's a bounce-back game. They did what they needed to do to get the goals. Messi scored. Suarez scored. Is it sustainable? Who cares? Legitimately, like, who cares? Who the hell cares about this? Another game without a goal for Segovia, by the way. Another game without a goal for Allende, too. Is Fafa Pico the secret sauce? Maybe. We don't know. It all depends on Mascherano. But once again, I keep thinking back to Juanners' preseason prediction of this locker room collapsing in the face of adversity. I wouldn't call the Red Bulls the adversity by any means. So, yeah, I'm starting to think more and more that locker room collapse is coming. But the question is when. I don't know when. We'll see, though.
Not only Red Bulls in their current state, but a Miami Grand Prix excited Red Bulls. I just think that's funny because I saw that from Red Bull Twitter, and that's the only thing I could get my mind around.
Yeah. Also, one other thing, just speaking about like the way Miami games are broadcast in general, I don't want to see who is at the game watching the game. I want to watch the game. I don't need to see Patrick Mahomes on my TV screen being like, oh, wow, look at this. This game is so important. Patrick Mahomes is here. No, it isn't. He's here for the Grand Prix.
No,
are you kidding me?
He's scouting for Sporting Kansas City. We know that.
Oh, I thought you were about to say he's scouting for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Fafa Pico could probably play wideout, pretty good off-ball movement. I don't fucking know. Ugh, Miami's so boring.
Well, let's move on then. Let's not talk about Miami no more. One thing I will say, no Toto Aviles, and they did well. Let's talk about Philadelphia. I had them here, and there's really not much to say about Philadelphia. They, for a lot of stretches of the match, did not have the ball. They came out, scored early, and then anytime they tried to attack Montreal through the channel, Montreal's fullbacks were right there. And that's why I said, like, this was a very good Montreal game, and they just didn't have the win, right? And I think their win is around the corner, just to solidify the Galaxy as the worst team. But what I want to highlight here for Philadelphia is Jean-Jacques Danley. I don't know I don't know the configuration of his name. Jean-Jacques
Danley Jean-Jacques. He just
Jean-Jacques.
puts his first name on the back of the jersey like a fucking G.
So what's his name? Danley Jean-Jacques?
His name is, he's Haitian. His name is Danley Jean-Jacques. And I don't want to steal this point from you, but I'm putting him in my best 11 if the season ended right now.
Yes, I think he's one of the best holding midfielders in the league right now, and part of why I wanted to have a recap show with you guys is to kind of talk about best holding midfielders in the league, and I think he's up there. He is a multifaceted midfielder. He can score, he can pass, he can dribble the ball up. He is everything in the midfield you want out of a 4-2-2. And there's some games where they missed Jovan Lukic, and I thought, man, Lukic is like one of their main linchpins. It's Jean-Jacques. He is so good, so tidy on the ball. And I think if one thing is true from Philadelphia, is that he is more important to their entire structure than any other player right now. And I know we have Quinn Sullivan on here, but one thing I wanted to say about Philly, they need to go out and get a Bradley Carnell guy to kind of finish out the pressing structure, because there's not a guy in Europe or that you can transfer in from abroad that's going to do the work off the ball. So I think they need to look inward towards MLS. Some names I'm thinking of that would just crush on Philadelphia as wide pressing wingers: Jared Stroud, Cameron Harper, and Celio Pompeu. I was kind of looking through Carnell's previous players used, and I'm like, man, all three of those players right now in Philly would be just an immense help given where their depth is after trading away Gazdag.
Yeah. I also want to keep going on the Jean-Jacques point for a little bit. He wears number 21, and the Timbers had his discovery rights. So we might be looking at. I mean, this is an insane comparison to make, but the way he's playing is Chara-esque.
Yep.
That's an insane comparison for me to be throwing around even, but I see it. And it bugs me beyond belief that the Timbers had this guy's discovery rights, and they just still made no attempt to try and sign him. But I mean, they at least were aware of him, winning the awareness trophy. But yeah, can I also add in Thomas Ostrak to that Carnell list of players they might want to get? Yeah, I feel like he should be one, but God forbid St. Louis loses another attacker. Am I right?
No. I'm all for weakening St. Louis even more. So I am all for that one.
Did you Juan? I don't remember. Did you mention Kojima in your original?
No, I did not. But that's another player that could go. Maybe. Well, he's at DC, but he needs to be freed from DC.
Yeah, I in an ideal world, him in this Philadelphia system. Whew.
Yeah, either as the pressing winger or in midfield next to Jean-Jacques. I mean, dang. Philadelphia are that next depth guy away from being fine. You know what I mean? Not world beating, but fine enough for what they are right now.
And also, if Carnell could, he'd invent a cloning machine just so he can make 11 Indiana Vasilevs. So,
in his world, yeah. Let's talk about finally Vancouver. We talked a lot about the other teams, but going to go to Daniel here for Vancouver. What did you make of this performance? A little bit of a rotation here, given that midweek game. They were saving a lot of their best players. No Brian White here, but we still get Kubas. We still get Vitze. Got some more JC and Gondo. Such a fun player. Let's go to Daniel, though. What did you make of Vancouver? And then I guess we'll just kind of end on Vancouver with the whole cast and whatever they have thoughts here on hopefully, our MLS CONCACAF Champions Cup saving grace. But Daniel, tell us about the Whitecaps.
No Brian White, no problem. Jeremy, quick question for you. How much is it bothering you that Vancouver has gone on a streak of beating Saprissa, Monterrey, Pumas, all while being top of the MLS? How much is that bothering you?
It doesn't bother me as much as it probably should. But I will tell you, my head would be on Mars if the Seattle Sounders did this. The Seattle Sounders, by the way, did win CONCACAF through fraudulently qualifying because there was no Open Cup, and they had such an easy path to that final. So I've come to terms with, if Vancouver ends up winning this, if they do beat Cruz Azul, which like I'm kind of going back and forth on because it just depends on how insufferable Seattle Sounders fans would be based on the result. Because I can't really hate Vancouver Whitecaps fans. I hate Vancouver the team more than I hate Vancouver the fans. Whereas my hatred for the Sounders and their fans are like on the same level. That's how you judge how much you hate a team, by the way. I feel like if they were able to pull this off, this would probably be the most impressive thing any MLS team has ever done. And right now, I think it already is one of the most impressive things an MLS team has ever done, even just by reaching the final and by still like by doing all this without Ryan Gauld. That little prick. He scored
He'll be back in June though. He'll be back in June though. But
oh my god, who cares? He scored a fucking.
It's such a team of destiny that in the year of 2025 you can have Daniel Rios out there on the field and still beat other MLS sides. Yes, it's RSL to beat a team they're supposed to beat theoretically on paper just because of how hot they've been. But we got Daniel Rios out there in 2025, baby. This team was heavily rotated and they did their thing. It's gonna be frustrating just as a natural born hater. So I had to ask.
Well, here's one thing I will add is you say this is a match they should have won. I'm kind of cautious about those games because this is the end of 5 games in 2 weeks, something like that. So it's like, dang, like if anything, like this would have been the game where the wheels came off, and the fact that they didn't, that is what is like impressive, and that is what is really kind of the hallmark of this team. Jesper Sorensen is my early candidate for Coach of the Year. It was very, fun to see the shouts for Veras and I guess to even some extent Nancy still, but Sorensen, man, like how do you not? And let's look at who they brought in the offseason. Jaden Nelson and Emmanuel Sabi. That's it. And those two guys are looking like, I guess
ballers.
Not world beaters, but yes, ballers. Like, and is it Sorensen effect or is it Jaden Nelson and Sabi are like, would they cook on any other team? What do you think, Daniel?
I don't know. I think Nelson would. I mean, I think Nelson's a really, really, really good player, but it probably is a little bit of the Sorensen effect. I think so far my biggest takeaway has been Takaoka. He's a potential goalkeeper of the year candidate, guys. He's really good.
Takaoka.
Yeah.
See, I think
I'm thinking
he's their
that
weakest
dude
link.
should be getting some Japanese call-ups, Juan.
Okay, that's lofty. But that's just
It's a
because.
baller.
Well, that's just because we have the MLS prop to push, and I know you got it to push on Twitter as well.
Oh yeah, that's what I do.
Any other?
It seems like every one quick thing. It seems like every week with Vancouver, it's just like a different player that we're talking about. That's just like so good. This week is Tristan Blackman, by the way, who has no right to score a goal like that. Just what?
Yeah, mere minutes after the Rios miss, which I thought was funny. Any thoughts, Joss, on this Vancouver team? Are we about ready to wrap this one up?
TOD, Team of Destiny.
Now they do have CCC. Are we? No, we'll save it for the prediction show. Mid-season predictions review, whatever that will be called. Not next week because I think we are postponing next week just due to the double game week. So the following week we'll have the predictions, mid-season review, and maybe I'll start to field all the best 11 questions and manager of the year, and maybe this will give us a chance to re-pick our MLS standings, because Lord knows I'm ready to reshuffle Atlanta from my top of the East predictions. Let's get you guys' plugs and then call it a day for the podcast. Daniel, where can they find you?
They can find me on X, the Everything app, at VoxPro MLS. You'll see me on there as Major League Shill.
Jeremy?
Elon app at Sports Guy Jeremy. Bluesky, jeremypearman.bsky.social. My website, cascadiafc.substack.com.
Joss.
You can find me on the Elon app at Josh Bathtub, as well as Instagram and the Elon app at Off to See the Wizards.
You can find me at Juanners715 on Twitter, juanners.bsky.social, and then follow at State Footy everywhere on your social medias. I'm working on getting the Facebook back up, but I hate Facebook, guys. Facebook it's the lowest of the lows, and that's saying something with X. But yeah, you can find me there. Find State Footy. Share State Footy. We had a great amount of listeners for our last one. Got up to 60 plays. So on YouTube. So that is a big ups to the cast here. Big ups to the listenership for keeping us in your podcast presence. And so yeah, we'll be back in 2 weeks for a big predictions show. Or mid-season. I don't know. We'll figure out a title for this, right? But that's going to be it. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you when we see you. Bye-bye.